This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Happy Friday. Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. We got a packed show heading into the weekend. Lots to get to from the Stanley Cup playoffs in the National Hockey League, including a congratulations to Winnipeg Jets head coach Rick Bowness, who was named today as a finalist for the Jack Adams Trophy. Bones up for the award, along with two guys that have been going head-to-head tonight at Bridgestone Arena on Broadway in Nashville, Andrew Brunette of the Predators and Rick Tocchet of the Vancouver Canucks. Bowness's future will be a topic on the show today. We've got some stuff from Darren Drager, who spoke about that last night on TSN about Rick Bowness's future. And we'll dive into it extensively with Ken Wiebe as well a little bit later on. Rewucki's going to jump on the program. We'll kind of wrap Jet season with him, get his thoughts on moving forward into the offseason. And speaking of moving on into new seasons, baseball season is here. Logan Watkins, the new manager of the Winnipeg Goldeyes, is going to jump on the program. And we will also have a must-listen segment every May, the Friday before the Derby. Kirt Contois comes on and will hopefully give us the winner for the Run for the Roses at Churchill Downs on Saturday afternoon. So buckle up. It should be a fun one. And don't forget to stick around. Marble Race, as always, on Friday at the end of today's program. Just before we bring in Michael Remis, I have a big shout out to all of our sponsors and a special shout out to our pals over at the Beer Can, who have officially opened. It is opening weekend, and guys, I'm just gonna fill you in. If you're popping by the Beer Can, again, it's not too nice tonight, but tomorrow and Sunday look quite nice. Tell them that Hustler sent you in Winnipeg Sports Talk, and got a free beer for the first 20 people that do that. So tell them Hustler sent you. Beer Can this weekend, and first one on us. Also want to thank, of course, Coolbet Canada, Princess Auto, Consolidated Supply, Rollies Transfer, Modern Man Barbershop, Manitoba Battery, Canadian Club, the Winnipeg Goldeyes, Breezy Bend, Assiniboia Downs, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, F Apparel, Wallace & Wallace, our favorite local beer, Little Brown Jug. And we'll get to a why not question of the day for the gang at Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGilvery. Let's get Michael Remis in here. And Reem, the Leafs live to see another day. We got Game 7 tomorrow night and two big Game 6s tonight that could set up a little seventh heaven on Sunday.
Yeah, trying to figure out what to do in this post-Jets world. Been raining for 2 days since they got eliminated, but I did enjoy. I watched the game last night. I did enjoy this
around here.
I did enjoy this tweet from Jason Bruff in Vancouver. This was an elite tweet as I bring it up here on the screen. He's tweeted, "Think of it this way. Either the Leafs force Game 7 and still lose the series, or the Bruins choke away a 3-1 series lead for the second year in a row. This is a win-win for my fellow haters." And I am on board with this. You know what? I enjoyed seeing the Leafs. Like, they took a lot of hate. I think a lot of people thought they were done because Matthews was injured or Nylander was injured or Marner, didn't perform. But they were able to come back from 3-1 and force a Game 7. I'm also enjoying the flip side. It's kind of take your pick here. Who do you want to win? Toronto, or who do you want to lose? Either one, Toronto. You're gonna have a lot of questions. Who do you want to lose? Or Boston, another like really, really disappointing year for them. So I don't know. The Leafs have had a lot of pain. Boston had a Stanley Cup in 2010. They've really struggled to get another one, but they've had really good teams and they've been back to a cup. I'm enjoying the idea of choking away a 3-1 series lead 2 years in a row. I saw some people tweeting that that's never happened in any of the major leagues for NHL or NBA 2 years in a row, blowing a 3-1 lead. So
you know what? Okay, you set that up beautifully. We may as well get right to the why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. And listen, this is not going to be who you want to win. It's who you want to lose more between the Leafs and the Bruins in Game 7 on Saturday night. I cannot stand the Boston Bruins. I don't know if it's something about, the rat, Brad Marchand, and also probably goes back to a lot of personal jealousy for Boston sports fans. All those championships that they won through the Patriots dynasty and then the Celtics and then the Boston Bruins winning in 2011. I was sort of done with that. I'm less jealous now being a Chiefs fan because I've got a taste of what it's like to actually win something. However, I also did pick the Leafs at the beginning of this series. I kind of thought that this was their time. What's nuts about this, Reem, is that they're doing it without Austin Matthews. And I know it was 2-1 last night. Tough Joseph Woll gives up a goal at 1959.9. But it wasn't a shutout. They haven't had one since 2004. But the way the Leafs were able to play defensively, and listen, I think they deserve a lot of credit, but as Montgomery said after the game, like the Bruins were garbage last night for the majority of the game. They had one shot in the first period. They did absolutely nothing. So I really don't know who's going to win on this one. I've got a little bit of a Coolbet incentive for a Leafs win. But either way, it's going to be must-watch TV. And yes, whoever loses is going to be dealing with a whole lot. And for the record, I do think whoever wins this series is getting boat raced by the Florida Panthers.
Yes, I would agree. I think Florida's a bit of a step above these teams. But I think on our poll, who do you want to lose? The Leafs are 68% of the people voting want the Leafs to lose. A lot of Leafs haters. You know, as far as like who you want to cheer for in the playoffs. You know, some people say, I want a Canadian team to win. Some people say, no, I think you subscribe to, I just hate every other team that's not the Jets. That's where you land. But that's okay. I think everyone's got to find their own motivation to keep watching here. And if we do get a McKinnon-McDavid conference final, I think that would be awesome.
That's the win for hockey fans. That's the win for the fans. I mean, that there's a lot that needs to happen before then. I think the Oilers are set up to run. I mean, whether they play Vancouver, the depleted Vancouver team, or a Nashville team that they absolutely own, I think they're going to roll through. And again, the biggest beneficiary of that final day of the regular season was the Edmonton Oilers with Vegas moving over, having to play Dallas in the first round. And, they, got the Kings again this year. Easy peasy, 5 games. And I think it'll be similar. Avalanche, very different story. Whoever wins this series is going to be a much tougher matchup. But I think most Jet fans would agree the way the Colorado Avalanche played against our squad, that's going to be a hell of a tough team to beat. What about Dallas-Vegas, Reem? Any quick thoughts on that before we get to the Jets news?
I think Dallas takes it. They already won in the Fortress. Maybe it'll probably go to 7, but I think they'll win out. They're playing strong. They got the depth. We'll see how it goes for them. But yeah, we got 6 o'clock, Vancouver, Nashville. And I don't know, that series, like, it's been pretty sloppy, hasn't it? And Dallas, Vegas. And I get me, I was like, I'm focused. I think one of them is always on the same night as the Jets, so like I haven't watched a lot. I've seen more of the Dallas, Vegas.
Well, the Nashville, with the exception of Vancouver having that crazy comeback last weekend, after the Jets had lost, it's been. I mean, you tune in halfway through the second period, and the shots are like 8-6.
Yes,
And
it's
it's
been bad.
low event hockey. I mean, exactly the cries of it. By the way, shout out to Rodolfo Claren. Greetings from Chile. Rodolfo, boosting our Chilean support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Great to have you here. Let us know in the chat who you want to lose more, the Bruins or the Leafs, in Game 7 tonight. And Rick Book said, for Canada, why all the Leaf hate? It's so dumb. They're not even in our division. The reason for the Leaf hate is pretty simple to me. It's twofold. A lot of people can't stand how when anything happens with the Leafs, SportsCenter will open for 14 minutes on that and then hopefully mention your team. And then the other part of it is that, when your team plays at home against the Toronto Maple Leafs, you're guaranteed to have a few thousand of the most obnoxious individuals roll in, behaving like their team is in the midst of a 5-cup run dynasty when they've never done a damn thing. But they're loud, they're there, they represent. But I do think if you can separate yourself from the fan base and the media coverage, listen, I've said this. I don't mind admitting it. I'm a huge Austin Matthews fan, which has made this even crazier, the way that they've been able to come back without Austin. Listen, if he was ruled out earlier in the day by a doctor for Game 6, I don't know how that changes. And you know what? They've got a lot of confidence. The fact that they played at this level over the course of these last 2 games, Joseph Wall somehow has come in and really solidified that goaltending position right now. And the bottom line in this, Remis, is that, and you mentioned no team's ever done it in back-to-back years. The collars are getting real tight in Boston. And they didn't play well at all. I mean, they were frankly horrible for the better part of the first half of the game and did not take advantage of a depleted team with an opportunity to eliminate them. And that is now 5 straight games and counting where the Boston Bruins could have eliminated their opponents and have come up short.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We've talked about, how the Jets were able, didn't have a lot of pushback when they were up for elimination. I don't know if this is worse, Huss, that the Bruins have had 5 chances to eliminate opponents and can't do it. And they might, yeah. And it was David Amber who tweeted from ESPN, no team from the NHL, NBA, or MLB has ever blown 3-1 series leads in consecutive seasons. We're looking at history here, Huss. And for me, I never thought I still don't know how Boston, maybe because we don't see a lot of them, I don't know how they're doing. You look at the roster, you're like, who are these guys? Who's their center?
How did they do it all year? I'm with you. I was thinking the same thing through most of the regular season.
And for Toronto, as much as I agree, people don't like them because they get all the media coverage and, their fans invade your building, but they have some good, players, and they've gone through a lot of pain. And I don't know. I think it's time for them to be happy once in a while, but either team is going to lose to Florida. So I think I'm cheering for the Boston to lose. Enough of them. They've had too much success there.
We'll touch on this later on. We'll see what Reuwcki and Ken have to say about these games coming up tonight. Let's get to the big news today. And listen, we were going to be talking about Rick Bowness's future anyways, but even more topical this morning, coming out of yesterday's locker cleanout and post end of playoffs press conferences by all the parties yesterday, that Rick Bowness recognized as a finalist for the Coach of the Year today, Reem. And listen, I know there's a legitimate criticism of some of the things that happened and the way the Jets played against Colorado, and certainly coaching is on that, and Rick kind of put that on his shoulders yesterday. But the more you get removed from the disappointment of getting waxed by Colorado, and you look at the season overall, and really the 2 years of what Bones did, considering how low this franchise was at that point when he came in, coming out of the Maurice walking away, Dave Lowry for the rest of the year, culture problems in the club. Bones has done so many excellent things with this hockey club. And the fact of the matter is, the Winnipeg Jets, I know we're no longer playing. There's some other good teams that are not playing as well, and there will continue to be moving forward. But they won 52 games and had 110 points. Usually the coach of the year candidates are the ones that seemingly overachieve the most. And there's no doubt the Winnipeg Jets were in that category. So regardless of how things go from here, was really happy when I saw the NHL announce that Rick Bowness was recognized as one of the top 3 coaches and jobs done this year in the National Hockey League.
Yeah. He went through the list yesterday, came in, fixed the defense, got back into the playoffs, changed the culture. He did all those things, and the Jets were second in the Western Conference. They had a great season, and it is a regular season award. And I think this is kind of redemption because we thought he was on the way to winning it last year, but they had that second half collapse, and there was none of that this year. So he definitely deserves to be nominated, but I think he's got tough competition. Rick Tocchet, who took a team that was not in the playoffs last year in Vancouver and moved them to top of their division, redid their defensive structure, and they've big rebound for Vancouver. And Andrew Brunette, who took a team that everyone thought was dead and had this incredible run there. So I think there's 3 worthy candidates, but happy to see Rick Bowness nominated. And I think the award show's in Vegas around the draft. So that's pretty nice. Get to go there, get recognized. What a season for him as All-Star, nominated for Jack Adams. And however, there are still some unanswered questions about his future as he's a club option for next year. But you can't argue, as you said, with the job that he did there in the regular season over the last 2 years to change the Winnipeg Jets from a non-playoff team to solidly a playoff team.
Yeah, I see in chat Schickster asking, what about Chevy and GM of the year? Here's the thing for Chevy that's not playing into his favor that played into Bones' favor. Voting for the Jack Adams happens right at the end of the regular season. And if you think about, timing, recency bias, overall, the body of work speaks for itself. This was a team that most people thought wouldn't make the playoffs, potentially scratching in and being in the mix for a wild card, to comfortably a playoff team, 52 wins, 110 points, second in the West. It was a phenomenal year. The Jets overachieved in most people's minds. Bones was going to get some love. If you did the voting today, I have a feeling that might not be the case. And that is because people just saw the team get blown out by the Colorado Avalanche. What is not playing into Chevy's, I think if the voting was done for the GM of the year at the end of the regular season, Cheveldayoff guaranteed would be a finalist. And there's a very good argument that he may have won it. The GM of the year is voted after the second round of the playoffs. So if you bow out the way the Jets did as quickly as they did, the shine comes off pretty quick. And again, a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking, and it's very easy to say after the fact. And listen, there'll be one team that wins the Stanley Cup. Everyone else didn't, and will have their own questions to talk about how they went out. But more often than not, the GM of the year comes from teams in the Final Four. It's often 3 of the 4 finalists will be the Final Four. So listen, I think Cheveldayoff and the job that he did deserves, consideration for that award. I haven't really thought about it maybe enough for the rest of the candidates. But because of the timing of it, I don't think it's much less likely that we'll hear Chevy as a GM nominee than Bones because of the timing of when each award's voted on.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that you could have the coach of the year, out in the first round, or Hellebuyck's going to win the Vezina and just let up 5 goals a game in the playoffs. But hey, there's difference regular season and playoffs. So I don't think you can argue. The job Chevy did heading back to this time last year, there were a lot of questions. What was he going to do with the Pierre-Luc Dubois situation? And now LA is, they've got I think we got to change the Dubois drama logo to silver and black of the LA Kings, because they've got some questions too about, I don't know, the buyout I keep hearing. So I think Cheveldayoff navigated that very well. He navigated the trade deadline, although ultimately, worked out in the regular season. But just, the playoff success was not there. But how much is that on the GM, or how much is that on the players for not reporting? I think there's a lot of blame to go around, all around. But you can't argue that he put his team in position for success and put them in position to win. And they had a great franchise record for wins. I mean, it was a great season until, you're kind of left at the same spot you were last year, losing in 5 games.
Yeah. Someone was asking in chat who won the Jack Adams last year. It's the guy on the hottest seat around right now heading into the weekend, Jim Montgomery. They had that record-setting season. They lose in the first round. Another season this year, I thought he did a great job and exceeded certainly my expectations. I was really thinking that he would actually be one of the finalists for the award. And who knows, he might be done if they don't win this hockey game tomorrow night. So that was the story on the Coach of the Year. And, we'll stay on top of the awards as the finalists are named as we go through these next couple weeks. But Remo, bringing it back to Bones. I'm not sure. Do we have that trigger clip?
I don't have the clip ready, but he said, my gut feeling tells me that he won't be back.
Yeah,
is what he said.
And so last night, and again, it's on YouTube, and maybe we'll get it and we'll play it when we talk to Ken a little bit later on. But Dregs, and again, I'm not saying this is set in stone. I mean, I've thought, for all the people that asked me about it during the playoffs at the games, I was sort of in a real 50-50. I mean, following this team as closely as we do and talking about it every day, and you'd realize this is a unique situation in the fact that Rick has been around for a long time, almost or was planning on retiring 2 years ago when the Jets convinced him to come back, has had some great success here, throughout the regular season, doing the things that they were trying to do, and I think is very proud of that. But has also missed some time personally with sickness and, of course, with his wife, Judy. And we all know that Bones is first and foremost a family man, and that is going to take priority. So I'd been really on the fence on this. And that's before we even talk about what management is thinking, as to whether maybe they feel like it's time to kind of continue to move this forward with a new voice. Or they might say, absolutely. This is, an unfortunate playoffs. We'll learn from it. We move forward. We want Bones to stay. It's not even guaranteed that is what he's thinking. So I had been really in the 50-50 area. Darren Dreger has always had a very close pipeline into Winnipeg. Not that the Jets give out much, but when they do, it seemingly is orchestrated through Darren Dreger. So I will give him the benefit of the doubt as far as all of the quote-unquote insiders, that he probably has the best intel on it. And, when he goes out after this, after hearing from everybody yesterday on TSN with Jay Onright and says that his gut tells him that Bones won't be back, I think we can maybe make that more of the favorite. But again, the longer you get away from the disappointment of the Colorado season, you think about everything that this team has accomplished over the last couple of years. I think there's certainly a case that, maybe keeping things together for one more year through a bit of a succession plan, if you will. I mean, many people believe Scott O'Neill's going to be the next head coach. I mean, does it make more sense to just do that now? I'm not sure, but that without a doubt, Reem, that is going to be first and foremost probably the biggest story of the offseason, because a lot of the player issues we'll get to in and around the draft, and there's always potential for player moves. But even something like Ehlers, which is going to be a huge topic, there still is 1 year left on the deal. So, could it be clarified in the summer? Absolutely. But there's also a very good chance, like we've seen before with the Winnipeg Jets, that maybe it won't be.
Yeah, we just went into a year last year with important pieces of the Winnipeg Jets. Going through the whole summer unsigned. Who was that? Scheifele and Hellbuck. This was supposed to be their last year, and they got it done. I'm trying to think of other players. Byfuglien was signed in the middle of his last, it was Byfuglien and Ladd in the middle of their last year. So we'll have to see what happens with Ehlers, but I know Dreger floated out as well. Could they trade Ehlers for some help on defense? Because what are they going to do to plug the holes? Or do they re-sign DeMello and Dylan? So some questions there. And as for Rick Bowness, I kind of agree, Huss. I mean, he's turning 70 in January. He's had a couple leaves of absences the last couple of years for health for him and his wife. You're going out kind of on top here. He signed it to, this was the club option. So we'll have to see what happens. I just pulled him up on Hockey DB. I mean, look at this coaching. Look at this. This must be the longest page in Hockey DB history, right? Like in any page, look at this coaching. 82, 83, Sherbrooke Jets, Winnipeg Jets assistant, head, assistant, all the way to 23, 24. Pretty incredible. And I don't know, someone's got to tell Hockey DB to update their picture. I think this is with him and the Senators in the 90s.
The thing is, just click on the picture. I believe if you click it on, you'll just get all the different ones.
There's only two. We got to tell him.
Oh, okay. He only has one player and one coaching pick. Well, he looks, although he's still got a lot of youthful energy right now, Bones. So,
I think so.
Maybe that's why they kept it up. Anyways, we'll talk about this with Ken as well as Brandon coming up on WST. Listen, just before we bring in Rewucki, summer's here and many of you will be planning moves. I know it is stressful. It can keep you up at night. Make your move the best and easiest and smoothest possible with the most trusted name in moving for over 60 years, Rewucki Transfer, family owned and operated right here in Winnipeg for over 6 decades. They've been doing it better than anybody else and, taking a lot of that stress, as I mentioned, out for people moving year after year. With their logistics business, they're so well connected and working throughout southern Manitoba, especially if you're moving from Winnipeg elsewhere or from elsewhere in the province to Winnipeg. You'll have the most flexible times and routes, as well as the best pricing on all of that. But the bottom line is, this is all of your most prized possessions and belongings. You need to make sure it's trusted, it's done with trusted professionals, and that's exactly what you get with Rewucki Transfer. Go to their new website, ROLLYS.com, Rowleys.com. At the top right corner, you'll see the request a quote feature. Real simple, fill that out. They'll have a quick turnaround. Their friendly staff will get back to you and can get it all set up and get you on the move to your next spot with the help of Rewucki Transfer, Manitoba's most trusted name in moving services for over 60 years. Find out more and request your quote at Rowleys.com. I know a lot of you are going to be working out in the yard this weekend. We've had some rain, so hopefully things will be greening up a little bit more. But if you do have irrigation needs, there is absolutely no one that can help you more than our friends at Consolidated Supply, the leaders in irrigation systems, artificial turf, new and used golf carts is the exclusive club car dealer in Manitoba. And they've also got other great options for your property that might really spruce things up. How about a hot tub or maybe a beautiful outdoor kitchen option? And they also are the leaders in small engine parts and repair. So much that Consolidated Supply can do for you. You can find them over at 1395 Niagara Road East. Pop on down, check in their showroom, open to the public, and you can get online for everything that I just mentioned and find out more at cte.ca. For those golf carts or whatever you're doing this summer, you're going to need batteries. All winter long, Donnie and the gang has been getting Manitobans through from point A to point B, focusing on car and truck batteries, but now we get to the fun part of the year, and it's certainly the fun part of the year over at Manitoba Battery. They've got the Deep Cycle Marine Battery sale on right now all month, as well as the golf cart battery sale. And whatever toy you're working on this summer, machine, they've got a battery for it. And they've got the best price in town, beating the pants off the big box stores, 12 months a year, shop local. And Manitoba Battery will also make it even simpler for you because they'll deliver that battery to you for free anywhere in the city of Winnipeg with any purchase over $60. It's just that easy. Give them a call or pop by either the original location on Logan Avenue, their brand new location on Dover Court, and you can find out everything going on with the sales on right now at manitobabattery.com. Any of the weekends here, gang, whether you want to look good for the weekend, the spring, or just moving forward into the rest of this month and summer, Pop on by your local Modern Man barber shop to be looking your best. 8 locations in the city, including the newest locations on Pembina Highway and Plessis Road. Modern Man has you covered with great haircuts, beard shaping, shaves, color services, and more. All the products you need as well. Easiest way to book your look and make an appointment is to go online to modernmanbarber.com. And don't forget to give him a follow on Instagram as well at Modern Man Barber Shops. All right, let's get Brandon Rewucki in here. Talk a little puck at the end of the Jets season. Brandon, I had hoped we might be talking about a Game 7, but we never really even got close to that. Short and sweet for the Jets in the playoffs against a team that, I mean, now with sober review looking back was simply on another level than what Winnipeg was. Overall thoughts on round 1 and the quick exit for the Jets?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, Huss, because I feel like the public consensus takeaway has been that, this is a wake-up call or a slap in the face to the organization of, okay, this is what a cup contending team looks like, and now we've got to figure out how to take that next step. When they lost in 5 games to the Golden Knights last year, who went on to win the Stanley Cup. And they lost to the Blues a few years back as well. But I kind of do still agree with that to an extent too, because it's almost like this team went on a rebirth once Rick Bowness took over. And Chevy kind of outlined what the 3 main goals were for him during his tenure here. And making the playoffs being one of those. But I think more importantly, it was redefining and resetting the culture and then changing how they played on the ice as to more of a team opposed to 5 individuals. And I think they achieved that. And I think there were a lot of steps taken in the right direction. But that was a big boy moment for the Winnipeg Jets, where, there were things that could have been done differently all across the team, coaching, goaltending, players, forwards, defensemen, all of it. But the fact remains that I don't think there was, even if all of those things came together at the perfect time for the Jets, there was just too big of a gulf in talent and performance between the two teams on the ice over the handful of games there. It might have been a longer series, but man, it's hard to envision a scenario playing out where the Jets would have ultimately taken it. So now it's okay, we got our wake-up call, we know what needs to be done. What are the steps we need to take this offseason to go ahead and do that? Because I don't think it's just, hey, we can sit on our hands here and we all know the problem, we'll figure it out next year. It's, no, we got to get better, and getting better means some guys come in, some guys go out. And now it's on management here to make the correct decisions on it.
Yeah, just before we kind of get to that and moving forward, I mean, I don't know, like many, listen, I was impressed with the way the Jets played in those first 2 games with Colorado. I mean, I remember the road game in early December where they went in and, really played one of their best games of the season. And that was, in a lot of ways, the sort of the start or maybe midpoint of them really hitting their stride with the defensive game, with the 35 straight with 3 goals or less or whatever it was. But, man, with the importance of the game in Denver at the end of the season, knowing was on the line, how bad the Avalanche looked, how good the Jets looked, you couldn't help but kind of think that, okay, this team was really ready to not just play with Colorado, but beat them. And then obviously the first game was a circus, with all the goals and the goaltending. But, I mean, my biggest takeaway is the Colorado Avalanche reminded everybody who they are. Painfully for Winnipeg Jet fans and really the players. And, we heard a lot of the players talk about the intensity level, which is a weird thing to sort of hear at that time. You would think, like, how can you not be intense? But it's like one of those things where you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And they unfortunately got slapped upside the head by it, by what that team was able to do. Like, the Avalanche, I don't want to say played possum because they didn't. They were concerned about the way they were playing going in, but they found a way to raise their level, and man, did they do it. Like, going into the playoffs, I didn't really think I would have had a few other teams ahead of Colorado, and maybe that's naive to think that they weren't one of those top teams that could win the cup. watching what they did to the Jets, who, let's not forget, were the best defensive team in the NHL. I mean, I don't think that if anyone's able to beat Colorado, they're probably winning the Stanley Cup. I mean, that is just how good that Avs team was. I mean, there is an element to giving credit where credit is due because they were absolutely phenomenal. And it wasn't just McKinnon and Cale Makar. I mean, it was to the top down to the bottom. Their blue line was amazing. The depth, which we all thought was a strength for the Jets, ended up forward-wise really being a strength for Colorado. And Jared Bednar's got his guys rolling right now after not looking that good heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, Arturi Lehkonen might have been the MVP of the series. He's like their 8th most impactful skater. That's the problem of it is, and it's funny because some teams, like high-end teams, they can do we'll flip the switch, don't worry. Some years they do, some years they don't. This year they did. They did in a big, big way. I mean, Cale Makar had a bit of an injury, but I mean, he had, by his standards, a down year. He was the best skater on the ice and one of the 3 best players in all of hockey that series. He was just – it felt like watching Bobby Orr highlight reel videos, but just with better quality video. I mean, they're
and at our expense.
Yeah, and it wasn't fun or enjoyable at all. But I don't know. I have a hard time envisioning any team beating Colorado 4 times out of 7. They were just they were flawless after game 1. They were so perfect. And, kind of touching on that point you made about the intensity that the Avs had and how fast they looked, I think that's really just a testament to how well Jared Bednar has that team coached. That with their structure, with some of the adjustments that they made, knowing what Winnipeg's going to do here, they're a fast team to begin with, but they can look 2, 3, 4 steps faster when they're moving at full pace and they know exactly what they're going to do and know that we have to execute this, and away we go here. On top of a power play that was basically 50%. So it's, all around. And this is kind of both the interesting and the scary thing, Huss, is, we call this a wake-up call series for the Jets as to what a cup contending team really looks like. The problem with that, though, is you're not going to find a McKinnon or a Makar or a Rantanen at any point this offseason. So it's all well and good to say, there's your blueprint, follow that. Well, you're not finding 3 top 10 players in the NHL for basically nothing here. So it's one of those things, too, where it's like, wow, look how great the Avs were. They were amazing. But then it's also, we have to elevate our level by going in a completely different direction than them, because it's very, very unlikely we find an elite high-end piece like they have in spades over there.
Well, for sure. But listen, the talent was a big part of it. The super elite talent was made the difference. But again, like you mentioned, Kushkin's a world-class player, but Lehtinen was killing them. You had Trennan scoring. You had Miles Wood and Colton. And, these are guys that, the Jets, have handled in the past and absolutely can play with. Like, I think the biggest takeaway and probably the most painful part of the postseason meetings and the offseason for Bones and Chevy and all the players is wondering, why could they not, we didn't see anything close to the best of the Winnipeg Jets in the playoffs. And that's something that I think is going to be a real bitter pill to swallow. The Jets have proven, as good as Colorado is, they can play with them. Now, the Avs significantly raised their level of play. The Jets didn't. There's no argument to that whatsoever. And figuring out how to do that is what is mandatory if they want to compete. There's no guarantee. Like I said before, you could play the Winnipeg Jets, as presently constructed with the great season they had, could play their absolute best game against Colorado. There's absolutely no guarantees you're winning that game. Think about the opponents, but the Jets weren't close to that. Didn't have a lot of answers for what Colorado did when they raised their level. And a lot of the things that were strengths of the Jets in the past, forechecking, turnovers, that pressure, it was completely reversed. And there wasn't a lot of answers for that. And that, I think, is probably what's tough. But, you can make the argument that they aren't maybe that far off if they get to where they need to be playing their best. because Colorado was at their best. And when that was a Jets team that was a little bit off or a lot off at times, why that happened, maybe a lot of credit does go to Colorado. But you know what I'm saying? Like, we didn't see a real heavyweight bout of the Jets playing their best and the Avalanche their best. The Avs just took over, and then it was done.
Extremely well was they exposed the fatal flaws that were a part of the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, that's what it is. They had a look, and don't get it wrong, they had an amazing regular season. And sometimes those things don't show up for high-end teams, right? Like you can go 82 games like Winnipeg did, put up essentially 110 points, and everybody's talking about how great you are, but there's still concerns about certain spots of your roster and your team. And I think once the Avalanche, kind of got a taste of that in game one, again, the word of the week in Winnipeg is apparently adjustments. But you saw adjustments made from Colorado's end of things, and you saw Winnipeg fail to respond to that. I think it was it was that simple. And so I guess the hope for Jets fans now is, can Chevy and management and coaching correctly identify what went wrong, and can they make the right moves to address that? Because look, you're not going to be able to go the Avalanche roster building route, but can you go the St. Louis Blues roster building route? Can you go the 06 Hurricanes roster building? You know what I mean? Like there's a way to win a cup. It's not the easiest way without a number one overall pick and a top 5 player. But you just got to be honest with yourselves and honest with the group that you have out there, and just have a discussion, be open, and say this is what we need to do if we want to give ourselves a much more realistic chance if a team like the Avalanche are playing at the peak of their abilities next year.
And again, we focus so much on the forwards, but to me, it all starts on the blue line.
Bingo.
They just could not get it out of their own zone. I mean, you compared to the way the Avs were breaking out on the Jets and the difficulty Winnipeg had just getting it out, the amount of times that we saw, like things that we never saw during the regular season, like defensemen, being forced to not only send it cross ice or way down to a player, but do it about waist high because there was the guy over them. The amount of icings that turned out.
Everything's an 80-foot pass, right? That was one of the adjusts. I feel like people didn't talk about it, and I think you're 100% right, Huss. That's how everything cascaded downwards for the Jets. Like if you can't break out of your own end cleanly, you can't forecheck properly. You can't defend properly because you're turning it over to an Avs team that is lethal and devastating on the rush and in transition. Everything in your game crumbles from that point on because you can't move it cleanly out of your own zone. I really disliked how little support the Jets forwards gave Winnipeg Blue Liners in terms of trying to break out. I don't know why the decision was made to have two guys essentially pass the red line and then you're throwing Hail Mary passes against an Avalanche blue line that's the most mobile in the NHL. But I totally agree with you there. And I think if you're looking at moves that need to be made and a power ranking or a depth chart as to what needs to be done first, to me, the absolute first thing that needs to happen is you need to find as close of a stud on the blue line as you can to give Morrissey a little bit of support on the second pair. I think that's going to be the biggest boost that the Jets could do to help them going into next year's playoffs. There's always a few cardinal rules when you look at cup-winning teams in the past. There's exceptions here and there, but I don't know, man. 99% of the time, you look at those teams and they have two top-pairing defensemen on them, right? It's almost mandatory, and so I think. I don't know. We'll see. I think and hope the Jets understand that. But before you go about switching what's going on up front, to me, I know there's a bunch of exciting youth and options there on the back end, but I think an injection of high-end talent is the biggest priority for Winnipeg's roster building this offseason.
Where are you at on, we just spent a time at the start of the year giving Bones his flowers for being a finalist for the Jack Adams Trophy. And, as he spoke yesterday, he has a lot to be proud of what he's done with the Winnipeg Jets and what they came in to do, what they have accomplished, albeit not being more of a factor in the playoffs. But considering the situation, what we heard from Bones yesterday, where are you at? Give us your chances of returning or not returning in your mind, like right now before we get clarity in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I put it yesterday at 70-30. 70 that he's not going to be back, 30 that he returns. Personally, I don't think he wants to retire. So it'll be a move by management and ownership as to what his status is going to be for next season. I don't think we're going to see Rick Bowness voluntarily step back. He loves hockey too much. And he's up there in age, but I mean, I think he could go to other teams in the league and be like Jack Adams Award. Like I still got a little bit left in the tank here. So I'll be surprised if we see him come back. You know, obviously Chevy doesn't say much in these kind of pressers, but I thought a non-committal was pretty eye-opening to me as to the direction the Jets are initially leaning right now. And ultimately, I think it comes down to this for me, Huss, in terms of the coaching on this team. I think Rick Bowness was a phenomenal transition coach for this team. I mean, he did some great work over these past 2 years in resetting the culture, you know, completely changing the vibe inside that locker room, which was toxic for years. And then instilling, you know, for the most part outside of the Colorado series, instilling some structure and some solidity to this team in terms of how they defend in their half of the ice. I think he did a tremendous job doing that. But I do think it is also time for a new face, a new voice to come in and be part of that push to take this team to the next level. So I think we'll get an answer pretty soon, Huss. The other part of it, too, is, you know, even though Rod Brind'Amour is either he has signed or he's going to sign in the next couple of hours, whatever it is, the free agent coaching options out there right now are phenomenal. Like, there are some big, big names available. And you're talking about cup winners, guys that have had success, up-and-comers as well that hold a lot of promise. Like, there's not a shortage of options for the Jets to kind of revamp their coaching staff. And all of this will go around Rick Bowness. But the other fact of the matter to us is that, you know, the special teams for 90% of the season was a complete disaster. And so there needs to be, like we saw with, you know, the Todd Reardon dismissal in Pittsburgh, I think it's not just, you know, Bones is the one to be blamed for everything wrong with this team. Like it goes a little bit deeper than that for sure.
Well, it's kind of hilarious that you mentioned that because Guy Boucher was trending on Twitter last night throughout the game. And I'm like, what the hell's Guy Boucher doing? I hadn't heard his name. Oh, he's in charge of the Leaf power play. And then, you know, whatever, that wasn't going on. And the assistant coaches catch the strays too when things aren't going well. And you know, special teams throughout. Listen, we can talk about what it was throughout the year. It obviously wasn't so problematic because they won 52 times and had the 110 points. When we got to the playoffs, it was absolutely an issue, and in particular the penalty kill that had absolutely no answer for what the team was for what the Avalanche were doing. Hey, listen, before we go, very quickly, 3 series still going. Who makes it out of Boston, Toronto? And do you think that either the Predators or the Golden Knights force a Game 7 tonight?
Well, Boston, Toronto is your classic stoppable force and movable object here, where the team that can't close out a 3-1 series lead versus the team that can't win a game set. It's magical. Like, I don't even care. I don't even care who wins or loses us, just because I know that there's going to be an organization in absolute shambles after the game Saturday night. That's good enough for me. Come down to my level. I don't know how you can. I mean, this is what the Leafs do, though, right? For all their issues, when the going gets tough, the Leafs actually get going. Like they're a pretty good comeback team. They just don't close it out at all. And so I think we're going to see heartbreak once again. I think the Bruins find a way to get it done. It's funny, too, because ultimately I don't think it matters. I think Florida, I don't know. If
they're boat racing whoever wins this series, whoever. But how tight must those collars be in Boston? After all the winning that they've done, to be 0-5 in their last 5 games with the chance to win and could be the first team in any of the major pro sports to, in back-to-back years, blow 3-1 leads.
yeah, I mean, I can't even imagine the organizational upheaval. And that's a crazy stat. Like when you're doing all of pro sports, there's several dozens of jobs on the line in this one. I think as a neutral observer, I just love I love that game. I can't wait to watch it because there's going to be so many people absolutely devastated by the outcome of it. As far as the other series go, I think Nashville's going to force a game 7. I think we'll see a couple game 7s there. Actually, I think both. I think they'll both come out. I mean, poor Vancouver is just in a It's like a monkey paw situation. Like, please get us into the playoffs. And I mean, I don't know if Eddie Lack or Alex Auld is next in the pipeline to go between the pipes for them. But I think we'll get treated a round one that started really, really slowly. I think we'll get our just rewards in these last couple of games.
Should be a great weekend. Brandon, looking forward to catching up on Skates and Plates on the weekend as well. Folks, subscribe wherever you get your favorite pods. You have a great weekend. Enjoy tonight and hopefully game 7 or 2 on Sunday.
Sounds good, man. Have a good weekend. We'll talk soon.
Appreciate it. There is Brandon Rewucki joining us from Skates and Plates. Ken Wiebe coming up next. Do want to thank Princess Auto for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Of course, you know Princess Auto, proudly founded and headquartered right here in Winnipeg and supporting the Bombers, the Winnipeg Jets, the Goldeyes, a huge part of the Manitoba sports scene, and so much more. And of course, great supporter of ours here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Princess Auto is the place where you'll find the biggest and best assortment of tools and equipment around, most unique stuff you won't find anywhere else. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Now's the time to get down there, folks. 2 locations in Winnipeg, Portage Avenue West, Panet Road. And you can always shop online 24/7, 365 online at princessauto.com. If you are needing an improvement for a fence or an overhead door, you know who to go to. Wallace & Wallace, the leaders in fencing and overhead doors for over 70 years now in Winnipeg, since 1946. If you need the security and protection of a new fence, or if winter did a number on your old one, they've got you covered with vinyl, ornamental, welded wire, chain link, or wood fences. And of course, if you need to replace your garage door, they have Winnipeg's largest selection of overhead garage doors. Give Wallace & Wallace a call at 452-2700. The Wallace & Wallace team will arrange a time to come out and give you a free estimate. You can also visit them at wallacefences.com or pop down to their showroom on Lowson Crescent off of Kenniston. Guys, if you need to up your menswear game heading into the new, wedding season, spring and summer, now that we're getting the sweaters and whatnot put away, all it takes is a trip down to F Apparel. Custom suits beginning at $400, along with chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and an incredible selection of menswear accessories. 15% discount for wedding parties if you and the fellas are standing up, or if you're having one, a wedding this year, make sure to talk to them about that. And also right now, a great deal for high school grads getting a suit to take them through their high school years and into the next chapter. F Apparel is at 190 Smith Street. Make an appointment at F, that's EPHapparel.com. And cheers to the gang at Canadian Club. The weekend is here. And that means for many of you, a trip down to your local Manitoba liquor marts. Make sure you check out the Canadian Club displays at your local liquor mart and pick up Canada's oldest and favorite Canadian whiskey, the good stuff, Canadian Club. And we'll look forward to having a few CC and Gingers and the rest of the Beam Suntory family cocktails down at Princess Auto Stadium this summer, as Canadian Club is the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. All right. It's time to welcome in Ken, who I believe is recovered from his... that was like a 7 OT night for Kenny and Rennie after Game 5. I'm not sure that record of latest live show in Winnipeg digital sports history will ever be broken. And Ken joins us now after a wrap-up show as well. Make sure to check out the channel for that. How are you, my friend? I see you've got the golf shirt on. You're literally ready to get to Breezy or any of the beautiful courses around and get going with the Manitoba Golf Tour, it seems, now that the team is done.
Indeed, Hustles, great to be with you. Happy Friday to you and the viewers/listeners. Interesting week. Yeah, a couple late nights on the content side of things, but that's part of the gig and part of the reason we enjoy what we do. When you have that level of engagement, you keep going a little bit longer. I know you went to wrestling earlier this week, so you don't want to finish the show until the opponents have tapped out. So until the 3 count has. Sorry, I should use 3 count in that situation in case the UFC fans get confused.
Were
by
either of
which way
you
I'm
trying
going.
to tap out during the show? Was there one guy that was tapping and the other guy was like, no, we're going longer?
It was more like after the 1, 2, and then Hulkamania with the arm shake going there. That's what it sort of felt like.
That's what it was. No. We're going to go through every single player individually on their performance.
Hey, it was a good idea.
It was the Iron Man match. That's Bret Hart.
It was definitely yeah. I'm not sure who applied the sharpshooter though in that one. Hustles that's still TBA on that one. But yeah, great engagement as you know throughout the week. You guys have had great numbers for the shows, and yeah, both the Kenny and Rennie after hours and the exit meetings numbers have been pretty awesome. But yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, for folks who haven't been able to catch up, or for those who weren't ready for the therapeutic sessions yet, check them out at your convenience. Certainly, lots to discuss and lots we will delve into right now, Huss.
Yeah, well, Ken, let's start off with yesterday, and we'll get to the players in a minute,
Sure.
and we're actually going to be talking more about the players through next week. I mean, there's so much to play and talk about, and we'll kind of focus in on individual situations. We'll start at the top. We played Kevin Cheveldayoff live yesterday after Bones spoke. It was interesting of how non-committal he was to a lot of things, but in particular the head coaching situation. We heard Darren Drager on the on TSN last night, with his thoughts on it. Where are you at with the head coaching job for next year? What do you believe is Rick Bowness's intention, and is that different than the hockey club?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good way to put it. And Huss, I would maybe say that if we were around 12 months, I thought Kevin was actually more committal this year than last year on a number of fronts. I can remember the conversations we were having, and people were up in arms over not even knowing the direction of the club, whether they were going to continue to try to contend or if they would be tearing it down and rebuilding. Both,
No. I just mean like we did not get an answer yesterday as to who the head coach is next year, and I think if it was done, we would have known that.
Well, yeah, that's fair, Huss. But what I would say too is that he literally hadn't had his meeting with Rick Bowness yet. So if that had been done previously, or if that had been decided, then yes, that A plus B would definitely equal C there. But how I will put it is this way. I mean, I know we're supposed to start with Kevin, but for me, Rick Bowness was, he is an emotional, passionate guy, Huss. That is his MO. But I saw a guy welling up at the podium, who is making almost like a last-ditch plea almost about, wanting to be back here. To me, it seemed pretty clear that he was wanting to continue in the job. And again, Kevin Cheveldayoff is a cards held closely to the vest type of person, so I don't think he was being evasive. This certainly wasn't a Dave Lowry can apply for the job that he just had if he so chooses type of scenario. Also, Huss, like for people and I'm not trying to be flippant, and I don't think that was fair to Lowry. I'm just saying in terms of the verbiage,
yeah.
I don't think he is leaving him hanging in the wind like it sounded like for Dave Lowry when all of us had expected that. Reapplication or not, he would not be returning as the head coach of the Winnipeg Jets, under those circumstances. So I don't think it's a parallel with that. What I do think is that the Jets are going to have some serious and difficult conversations in the upper management. And, Rick Bowness said it himself with Mark Chipman. We know what Rick has done in the 2 years, and in case we had forgotten, he basically threw it out there for everyone to hear during his session. So, he was brought in to change the culture and to make the Jets a better defensive team. Well, guess what? Even if you don't like some of the deployment and personnel decisions, Rick Bowness hit an absolute home run on both of those fronts. Now, for those people who say I'm not ever critical of Rick Bowness and all I do is, try to appeal to him for authority, Rick Bowness made some choices that he will regret in these playoffs. That's obvious. We've discussed many of them. But that doesn't mean that you ignore the fact that he helped turn the Jets into the best defensive team, not just in franchise history, in the NHL this season, Andrew. The best defensive team in the NHL. And if I had told you that was going to happen 2 years ago, you would have probably said, you would have been dropping wake-ups on me, right?
I would have.
The Jets were not, they were not a defense.
That was not on my
that was not on your bingo
card.
No, that was not
doubt.
on the bingo card at any stretch of the imagination. Now, having said that, was Rick Bowness perfect? No. And that structure did not carry over into the playoffs. That's a problem. But I didn't recall seeing Rick Bowness chasing around Avalanche players on the ice. So, again, this is always, it depends on your perception, depends which set of lenses you're looking through. Rick has done a lot of good in the 2 years, and Huss, if that is it for him, if it's a retirement, if it's a quote-unquote forced retirement, whatever way you want to put it, however way it shakes down, if that is the way it shakes down, it will not be done saying, hey, Rick, you didn't do anything in here, get the hell out. It will be thank you for all of the things that you did in helping this group move forward, but we think we need to have someone else push this team over the top. Do I think they've come to that realization already? No, I don't. But is it a possibility that will be their end game or decision? We can't ignore the fact, Huss. There is a coach in waiting on the bench. Scott Arniel has done a great job when Rick has not been in the seat and in the chair, but that doesn't mean the Jets have already decided that that's the case. But at the same time, I mean, we know Darren Dreger has a pretty good pipeline to the Winnipeg Jets, and he is also a guy who can draw his own conclusions. So if it wasn't a possibility, I don't think he would have mentioned it as one. So, if I had to guess, do I think Scott Arniel is the next head coach of the Winnipeg Jets? I do. As of right this moment at 2:06 on a Friday, I don't know if that is for 2024-25 or if it will be in the summer of 2025. So that's sort of where I'm at, and sorry to reverse the order here, Huss.
Well, no, because we kind of had to start there because is.
I mean, and again,
because I was with you, and you said it well. You said it well after Game 5 on the Marathon Late Night show, and I had the exact same response when I heard Rick talking afterwards. It sure didn't sound like a guy that was getting ready to say see you later.
Yeah, if I'm retiring, I'm not talking about players taking ownership. I'm not talking about training camp. And I understand people, even some of our fellow friends in the media saying, oh, well, he's under contract till July 1st. Of course he's going to talk that way. No, if he's retiring, he's happy to say, peace out. I'm good. This has been a slice. I'm out of here. I enjoy your company, media, but I'm glad I don't have to talk to you again. It's not like that. Rick is passionate about coaching, about teaching, about helping people get better. And of course he's pissed off that the Jets flamed out in 5 games because they legitimately felt that they had the type of team that could go on a lengthy run. So does he want Rick is the ultimate no excuses, just solutions. He wants to be there when the Jets find the solutions. Now, will he be given that opportunity? That we don't know yet. So we'll be waiting patiently. But again, Huss, and again, I see some folks are up in arms. Oh, how can Rick be up for the Jack Adams Trophy? Well, the Jets were 4th overall in the NHL on a team that most saw as a fringe wild card team, and some thought would finish 3rd in the Central Division. So he did an excellent job with the pieces that he had in front of him. That team underachieved when it came to the postseason, and yes, he wears some of that as well. But I mean, anytime
how much is it about the playoffs? Because the
anytime,
regular season was so good. They did accomplish so many things that they set out and wanted to do. If this was a really close series that went 7 games and the Jets lost, how different is the conversation we're having today?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the answer to that, Huss. I think it's maybe mildly different, but I just think that the playoffs last year compared to this year are not comparable because last year we saw, again, for 55 games, maybe 60, when the Jets played to the template, they were the same team they were this year for the majority of this year, except for the 6-game losing skid potentially. But, the common theme is that down the stretch last year and then this year in the playoffs, the Jets didn't get to that structure. Now, this year, I would argue it wasn't the same. Last year, I think they kind of overtly abandoned the style down the stretch, whereas this year, I just don't think they could ever get to their structure because of the warp speed that the Avalanche played at. And then the other problem was that their special teams didn't bail them out, and neither did the Vezina winning goaltender, or presumed Vezina winning goaltender, which I know we'll get to in a minute. And again, don't perceive this as a knock on the goaltender. It just, we've seen Connor Hellebuck, gloss over many of the Jets' sins in years past, and that didn't happen in the playoffs. Even though he made plenty of saves at certain times, it just didn't translate into 2 goals or fewer at all. Not even 3 goals or fewer. It was 5 in a row, in each of the games, which is wild. So, and again, one of those I understand is an empty netter, and that, again, it's not blaming Hellebuck, but that the Jets were not able to get to their structure this year is a problem, but it's not as big of a problem as overtly abandoning your entire system and just not being able to maybe keep up with the Joneses across from you, which is sort of how I see things transpiring this year. And they didn't fold they didn't fold in the big game. Now, again, we're not here to hand out participation ribbons, but when a team no-shows like they did in Vegas in Game 5 last year, it got called out, and rightfully so. This year it wasn't a no-show, but they still got kind of overwhelmed in the third period. So there certainly are further strides that need to be taken, Huss, because let's face it, the organization is not happy with having 3 playoff series victories in 13 years. They aspire to a higher number. So now you have to, one of your options is to change the coach. Another one of your options is to change the construction of the roster, which has been something Kevin Cheveldayoff has been chipping away at in the last 3 seasons. But after seeing the gulf between the Jets and the Avalanche this round, it's a reminder that even though, Huss, and I wrote this and I know you saw it, I think Kevin Cheveldayoff just completed the best 12-month stretch in his history as the general manager. But that still only led to 1 playoff win. Now, as I wrote, Kevin's not on the ice and can't do anything about it in the execution side. It's just a reminder that as good as the year was, he still has some challenges in terms of getting this roster to become a championship roster. Now, in the same breath, Huss, that doesn't mean you have to throw out 16 of the 24 players either. You need internal growth from certain players, but you also need to fill some of the holes. And those holes could be even greater if they're unable to retain one of or both of Dylan DeMello and Brendan Dillon.
Yeah, well, and listen, that's sort of where we go to next as far as the, what's to come with the roster and some key players. But just wrapping up round 1 and the loss, Colorado clearly raised their level of play significantly. We heard a lot about, the intensity level of the Avalanche that the Jets aren't even sure if they knew how to get there. They didn't, and we heard players talking about it afterwards. But why do you think, I don't think we saw anything close to the Jets' best game at any point in the playoffs. How much of that is on them, and how much of that is them just getting worked by a team that is more talented, frankly better, and playing at their best?
Yeah, Hassan, again, and I'm fortunate to have a little additional perspective on this because I was able to cover the 2022 Western Conference Finals sweep of the Avalanche over the Oilers, and then all 6 games of the Stanley Cup Finals. So I was on the Avalanche room side of things for all 10 of those games in the playoffs, and spent basically a month around that group. And we saw it on the ice, and the crazy part, Huss, is that the Jets actually at 5-on-5 did a pretty decent job of containing the Hart Trophy winner, or the presumed Hart Trophy winner. But it is his level of intensity, along with Cale Makar's, that is absolutely incredible. We saw it up close and personal. I've seen it in the room. I've seen it in the interactions, and it comes from also Gabriel Landeskog, Huss. I understand he's not on the ice and hasn't played a game in 2 years. I covered his last game that he played. That would be Game 6 against Tampa. He's still around the team, and he's an incredible leader. But Nathan MacKinnon has taken his game to such an incredible level. And Huss, what people are forgetting, or at least some people, remember what Nathan MacKinnon said when the Avalanche were bounced in the second round of 2021 in the playoffs, right? And for folks who have forgotten, click on the old YouTube, and we'll be reminded of the. I think wasn't there some F-bomb dropping in there, or that might have just been in the question, or whatever. Look at Nathan MacKinnon's face, and then look at what has happened since. And I asked Jared Bednar about this, Huss, on the morning of Game 5, about the value of scar tissue and playoff defeats that come back to haunt teams. Well, the only way to get over those humps is to put in the commitment level that the Avalanche put in starting in training camp in 2022. And we're still seeing the remnants of that in 2024 here. But Huss, there was also heartache in the middle. This team got bounced in the first round by the Seattle Kraken last year. Now, they didn't have Valeri Nichushkin, who was one of the best players in the series against the Winnipeg Jets, in the lineup at that time. But they still lost in the first round, and they were carrying that around with them for 12 months and were ticked off about it. And they did something about it by imposing their will in the entire series against the Winnipeg Jets. So what that means is the key leaders on the Jets, most of the key leaders on the Jets, Huss, played pretty well in this series at times, and at wide swaths of time, if we're talking about Josh Morrissey. But they still have another level that they need to reach in order to become a championship team, right? They haven't been able to win an elimination game where they were facing elimination. They had a closeout game against Montreal. I realize that. Since they won Game 7 against the Nashville Predators. And Huss, this group doesn't have to bear the entire weight of that because not all of them were a part of it. But some players have been a part of all of those losses, and they need to continue to look within, which is exactly what Josh Morrissey said. You don't want to feel that way again. You don't want to be a first-round exit. So that means, doing things internally. It also means pushing your teammates so that you're not left, trying to sift through the wreckage like the Jets were yesterday. And Huss, I love the answers by people like Dylan DeMello, where he flat out said, I wish I could give you a better answer. But if they had the answer, they wouldn't have been sitting at the podium discussing a defeat in the first round, right? So it's going to be interesting. Anyway, all to say that the Jets have strides they need to make. And, now it's incumbent upon them to take those internal strides. But again, like I said, Kevin Cheveldayoff had a great year, but the task is never done. And he's going to have to make another series of moves, whether that's trades or signings, to help the Jets not only maintain what they did, but to give them a roster that can also go on a lengthy run come April and May.
Well, and looking at it, I said this to Brandon last segment, but to me, I thought their problems, of which there were many in that series, all started on the back end. They could not effectively get out of their own end. It led to a ton of turnovers. It led to a ton of zone time. It led to the Jets basically just chasing a faster team around the ice. Yep. And that ended up with, analytic numbers for shots and high danger chances. A stratosphere away from what we saw at any point in the regular season. And funny enough, two of the guys that had the best seasons are the guys that are the ones that aren't signed for next year. From Kevin Cheveldayoff's perspective, what do you think his takeaways were about his blue line from the playoffs? And when you look at priorities to both bring back and add, how different might we see a blue line next year when we drop the puck?
Yeah, some of it will be out of necessity, and obviously we know that Dylan DeMello or Brendan Dillon wasn't afraid to say that he was a little bit disappointed that he wasn't one of the contract extensions that was handed out during the year, and I know that Dylan DeMello, I think, felt some of the same frustration. So first and foremost, Huss, I don't envision a scenario where both of those players move on. I think the Jets tried to sign at least one of them, and I think they would like to bring back both. But that's, to your point, even if that's the case, they still need to upgrade the fourth position in the top four. We know that Neil Pionk had a really rough series, right? So Neil Pionk can't be on the second pairing next year. Neil Pionk has to either be somewhere else or he needs to be on the third pairing in more sheltered minutes. He continues to play hard and has some qualities that are, valued by all teams. Now, you can't worry about, and I know you talked about this earlier this week, Huss, about the Jets potentially having a $10 million third pairing. And yes, that is a possibility if, certain moves or whether it's buyouts, trades, or whatever the case may be, don't occur. And that's okay, because there will be other places where they can have, entry-level deals to offset that. But the Jets need to upgrade the right side at the bare minimum in the top four. And again, I'm not trying to throw shade on Kevin Cheveldayoff, but I think that, he took accountability just like Rick Bowness did, just like the players did. I think with the benefit of hindsight, he would have tried to get Sean Walker or Chris Tanev or we know he tried to get Alexander Carrier until he was taken off the market. So that going in. Well, guess what? Sean Walker's a UFA. Is Sean Walker going to solve all the Jets' problems on the back end? No, but he was a very effective player to me in this series, and he has some of those qualities that the Jets don't have in abundance. And whether that's him or Tanev or somebody else, Carrier is also a UFA. Maybe Matthew Waugh also. In LA, there is a potential kind of guy. But what we know, Huss, the Jets need to upgrade their top four. They need to integrate Ville Heinola into the game. And then it's going to be up to Elias Salomonson to determine whether he is on the top pairing with the Manitoba Moose or if he's on the third pairing with the Jets. Now, again, Elias Salomonson
I thought Pionk's on the third pairing with the Jets.
Well, that's why it's a possibility. Anyways, like I said, Salomonson is not jumping from the SHL championship at 19 to the top pairing with Josh Morrissey. This is just like the Rutger McGroarty conversation we had for about a month in a row, Huss. He might be able to be in the NHL next year, but he also might need additional seasoning. Remember, Josh Morrissey, who is a, two-time Norris Trophy candidate. He's not the finalist, but he is a candidate again this year, needed a full season in the American Hockey League at the age of 21, not at the age of 19. So Salomonson is coming. I expect him to be a contributor within 2 years, but he's not immediately jumping into the top four and making the Jets a Stanley Cup contender. They need to add somebody to the top four in order for that to happen. Dylan Samberg may eventually get himself into the top four, depending on what happens with Brendan Dillon. But they need to upgrade in the form, whether that's a trade. Brett Pesce's a guy who, we talked about at the Vancouver draft, us when the rumors about Ehlers were out there. Pesce's also an unrestricted free agent coming up in the summertime. Now, would the Jets have preferred the 4 years ago version of Brett Pesce? Of course you would. But it's hard to argue that Brett Pesce would not, be an upgrade in the top four presently. So anyways, that's my long-winded way of saying they have some internal guys that they need to play better, but they need to bring in a body either through free agency or trade in order to upgrade the top four, no matter what happens to Brendan Dillon and Dylan DeMello. And Huss, let's not forget, some folks occasionally down on Dylan DeMello. He is the best partner Josh Morrissey has had since Jacob Trouba left town, and it's not close. So
no, listen, for sure, but here's the other side of that. Can you win a cup or go deep into playoffs with Dylan DeMello as your top pairing defenseman?
Well, you can if you upgrade the second pairing, but to your point, if you can add a number, 2 defenseman and have Dylan DeMello slip onto the second pairing with either Brendan Dillon or Dylan Samberg eventually, now that's another possibility. Or even, yes, folks, Ville Heinola at some point may, grow into that type of a role as well. But I'm here to tell you right now, Huss, whether you think you can win the cup with Dylan DeMello or not, you can't argue the Jets are a better team without Dylan DeMello on the right side. They don't have enough depth in the right side as it is.
Okay, so that brings me to my other question about the 2 pending UFAs.
I don't have the answer for you. I already know what your question is.
Two different players. One is on the right side. One has been just a great compliment to Morrissey.
Yep.
The other is a bigger, more physical defenseman that had a very strong year playing on the left side of that second pairing. Who do you think the priority is for the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, if they realize they go through it all, we can only keep one of these guys. Considering the young players coming into the organization that might be ready to play, everything else is out there. Like, I really don't know the answer to that question, but I'm interested in what you would think that the priority would be between Brenden Dillon or Dylan DeMello this offseason.
Yeah, Hassan, I hate to be a fence straddler, but I haven't had
great question.
I haven't had the answer in 2 years, and I still don't have it today. What I will say is this: the checklist in terms of what these players bring to the table is very similar. The obvious difference would be the size and physical nature element that Brenden Dillon brings. The Jets do not have an abundance of that either, as we've mentioned previously. But they also, we've heard all about handedness now in the last stretch of time. They also don't. If Brenden Dillon was right-handed, I might give him the edge, a slight edge, but
I think it would be automatic, in my opinion. If all of a sudden he was on the right side and played the right and had a right shot, I'm not sure that this is much of a conversation.
Yeah, but I mean, the other thing about that, Hussey's 2 years older, so that's why I'm saying that's also part of the equation. And I don't see Brenden Dillon's game falling off a cliff anytime soon. But I mean, age is obviously going to be a consideration in this as well. But Brenden takes great care of himself, and I expect him to have a long and lengthy career. And again, I only get to play the general manager on TV and in the written pages of the Winnipeg Free Press. If I'm Kevin Cheveldayoff, I find a way to sign both of those guys, because if you don't, you're looking for a younger version of both of those players. And Huss, I'm here to tell you that most of the younger versions of those players are either getting more money or, maybe not willing to come to Winnipeg. So these are two guys who love Winnipeg. They've been a big part of the culture makeover, and they both want to be here. Now, the complication to that, even though we heard why, Kevin Cheveldayoff tried to explain it, is that both of these players now have had to wait until May. And if you're those players and have an opportunity to be a pending unrestricted free agent for the first time in your career in your 30s, now, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Maybe Dillon had one other chance where he signed his deal with, Dillon signed his deal with Washington. So it's your opportunity. Tyler Toffoli flat out said it. And even though we know Tyler Toffoli's not coming back to the Jets, he feels he's earned the opportunity to choose the next step. So even though Brenden Dillon and Dylan DeMello are more than happy to be in Winnipeg and would be happy to put down roots here, and Dylan DeMello sharing with us that their second child is on the way, they'd love to raise their family here. The Jets are going to have to give both those players a raise. And like you said, Huss, unless they're doing some other roster machinations, that means they're going to have to take that money from elsewhere, basically. So, sorry, I don't have an idea who they would be prioritizing. If we're going by a depth chart, well, Dylan DeMello is higher up on the depth chart, but I think they bring a, very similar overall value by both players is very high and very similar. So I'm going to have to stew on that. I'm like the Jets players yesterday, Huss. I still don't have the answers, but I'm going to continue to try to search for the answers to that question, because it was such a great question. And it's a fair question, but I don't have the answer, because I don't know what are the other things that they're looking at, because those guys are, like I said, checking a lot of boxes in a positive sense. And if one or both of those guys are gone, those are two absolutely massive holes that need to be filled on the back end. And a back end, as we mentioned, that already is in need of an upgrade. Losing both of those players, I'm here to tell you, Huss, that's not an upgrade.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're not filling those holes, Nate Schmidt's not getting any younger, although I think he did have a nice bounce back season. The fact of the matter is you've got, and I said $10 million pairing, it's basically like an $11.8 million pairing once you get through, those last two contracts with those 1 year left on them. And from what Chevy sounded like yesterday, it didn't sound like there was much of an appetite to buy anybody out.
Yeah, I mean, you left the door open, but we know this, Huss. That's two times in 13 years they've done it. So are they suddenly going to buy out both players? No, that's not how the Jets operate. And that's leaving too much dead cap money out there. We know it's not as penalizing as in the NHL, but you can't just take an eraser and say, oh, this guy's out of here. No, you pay for that contract for 2 years. And for a team that is a cap ceiling team, that's not how they're going to operate. And is it possible at some point they change their mind? Sure. but I don't think it is their top priority. And the other problem, Huss, based on the draft capital that was moved at the deadline, the Jets just can't package one of these guys with the second round pick because they want that 37th overall pick because they don't have the first right now.
Yeah, and as I said, we sort of knew that would be the case with the Schmidt contract at the end. I mean, the way things have looked with Pionk lately, I mean, it's basically 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. It's a big chunk of the cap next year. And I mean, if they're both on your team, I mean, at a certain point you got to play guys, but at what expense? And can you move forward with those guys, in particular Pionk playing anywhere close to as significant of a role as he has for the last number of years?
Well, yeah, and Huss, we talked all year. I mean, Nate Schmidt lost his job down the stretch, but like, let's not forget he provided capable third pairing minutes for the bulk of the year. Now, the only thing that's different is his offensive numbers dipped a bit. So, I mean, I expect Nate Schmidt to be back, whether he's the 6th defenseman or the 7th, that kind of remains to be seen. But, you know, he had an injury in the first preseason game. Now, if he has a great summer of training, can he provide third pairing minutes again? Yes, I think he can. But like you said, the Jets clearly need to upgrade their defense core. If both of those guys are playing, they need to be playing at a higher level on the whole, right? Whether that, I mean, Neil has more room to make up than Nate because Nate still provided some steady minutes. So we'll see what happens. I mean, and like I said, I've said this a lot of times. Neil Pionk went through something that not a lot of people have to go through. Losing your best friend in a horrific injury, whether you're in the same country as him or not, is a very big emotional scar to be dragging around with you. But at the same time, I mean, he was supported well by his teammates, by the organization. That's just something he's going to have to work through. I expect, we know how hard Neil Pionk works, but he's got some work to do in order to get back to the level he has played at previously, and I expect him to put that work in.
Okay, Ken, let's try and keep this one a little brief, not go to the buffet because
we
got to get to Kirt Contois. But
hey, beautiful time of the year. The Downs is getting ready to roll here.
No doubt. We got to talk to Kirt about the Derby. We got Logan Watkins coming up for the Goldeyes. We got a marble race. There's still lots to do. But we heard from Nikolai Ehlers yesterday. We knew this was going to be a big topic, his future with the club. Like, we can talk more in next week and in future weeks about the Ehlers overall, but tying it back to the blue line, what would you categorize the chances that Ehlers would be moved for a player that can come in and make an impact on the top four of the Jet blue line this summer?
Yeah, I mean, short of a contract extension with Nikolai Ehlers, which, both sides would have to be in agreement on, I would say he is their biggest trade chip based on contract status and what he brings to the table and role that he has been used in versus role that he may be used in elsewhere. So I don't know what the number is on the Coolbet lines, but I would say it's a fairly high number that Nikolai Ehlers has played his last game with the Winnipeg Jets. Like I said, that number is not 100 for me, and maybe the discussion changes after the exit meeting. And I also want people to remember Nikolai Ehlers had not been in with Kevin Cheveldayoff or Rick Bowness, so I don't think it's as simple as saying, oh, hey, he didn't profess his love for Winnipeg, so he's out of here. That's not what I heard, because at the end of his, people might have been too stunned to hear it, but he also dropped I love these guys, and, I love it here was also involved in that conversation, even though he didn't come right out and say, yeah, of course I'm going to be back, which, again, is what everyone wants to hear. But even sometimes when you hear it, it doesn't end up transpiring. So, Nikolai Ehlers is a great person. He's invested a lot of his time. He's only been in this organization, I think it's for 9 years. He's given a lot. He has had enormous potential. He's had a couple seasons where he's been absolutely awesome, but that hasn't translated into playoff success either. And that bothers nobody more than Nikolai Ehlers, that he has 4 goals and 14 points. And it's not just about the numbers, Huss. It's about Ehlers not having made the same type of impact in the playoffs as he makes in the regular season, and that's something that burns at him. And whether he's able to solve that with the Jets or somewhere else, I would think that that's pretty high on the list of priorities for him. But if I had to say today, I would say that it's unlikely that Nikolai Ehlers is back with the Jets. But if he is, he might be on the Jets' first line. So for those of you folks who are only seeing the dark side of that, there's also that flip side where maybe Ehlers gets everything that he's always wanted and what some people have always wanted for him, and he signs an extension. That's still on the table.
Oh, yeah. Listen, nothing's set in stone, but I sort of agree with you that, just the way the organization's operated, how they've used the player, their needs elsewhere, the questions as to with the way that he's been used, does he want to be back? Is that something that he'd be interested in doing? You sort of you read the tea leaves and realize that could be an option. Kenny, you're a beauty. Have a great weekend. I'll look forward to catching up with you next week.
Thanks for having me, and all the best to the folks, at the Downs. I know they're getting close to getting rolling, and also, as someone who covered the Winnipeg Goldeyes for an awfully long time, all the best to Mr. Watkins and the organization as they get set for a new season here.
Yeah, you're going to get an invite for our, we're doing a big, after you guys finish this season wrap-up, which we're looking forward to.
Yes, May 13th, for those who don't know.
WST patio party at one of the new patios at the ballpark. Mandatory attendance for KNR. All right, take it easy, pal.
Yep. Thanks for having me, and I'll see the folks at the Downs hopefully for the opener there.
You betcha. All right, there's Ken Wiebe. You can check out all of his aftermath work from yesterday in the pages of the Winnipeg Free Press. I mentioned just off the top of the show, it is like we're now into the off season. Spring is officially here, and I can tell you that is official because the beer can is now open for the summer. If you have never been to the beer can, which is adjacent right beside the Granite, just down off of Osborne over the bridge downtown, you've been missing out. I can tell you that. It is the best, coolest place to get together with friends in a beautiful outdoor setting, enjoying the best of Winnipeg's local beers and some incredible offerings from the boys behind Cosmos and Hoagie Boys. It's open daily now from noon to midnight, 7 days a week, weather permitting. It's going to be sunny tomorrow. It's going to be sunny on Sunday. If you haven't been there, this is a great weekend to check it out as they get opened. And as we welcome the beer can on board, first 20 people this weekend that says to the bartender, hey, Hustler sent me from Winnipeg Sports Talk, free beer for you. How about that? So the first 20 are on us. Head down to the beer can this weekend, noon until midnight, today, tomorrow, Sunday. And please tell your bartender that Huss sent you and get that first beer on us. Can't wait to see you down at the beer can this summer. And shout out to Neil, Brad, and the entire staff down there. Looking forward to another great summer. And keep your eye out for an event we've been kind of working on for over a year that I think is going to come to fruition. And it is going to be a banger. We'll let you know about that a little bit later on this month. Shout out to Royal Sports. As we get to spring, we move past the disappointment of having to put the whites away. It's time to get outside. It's time to take advantage of this weather. And hey, when you're talking about getting active, Royal Sports has it all. Soccer, softball, baseball, running, tennis, pickleball, I believe, and a huge selection of bikes. It's time to get back outside. The Jets season is over. Royal Sports has you ready. And make sure to check out everything on the King's skate, snow, and surf side as well. If you're a camper, they got a massive Yeti section. A one-stop at Royal is all you need. And keep an eye on their Instagram page, at Royal Sports Pembina, for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Of course, you can get all your best team gear at Royal, unlike anywhere else. Also, shout out to our friends at Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge. Pat and Pitt and the gang were on the plane earlier this week, and the fishing season is officially on. Coming up later on, we'll be getting back to Aikens, but if you are thinking about a world-class fly-in fishing experience where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, Aikens is most definitely the spot. Check out more on Aikens booking options and availability online at aikenslake.com, and you can also get in touch with them on their social channels at Aikens Lake. And hey, I do have to give a big shout out to our friends at Little Brown Jug. At the end of the weekend, it's Friday. It's about time to get out and, maybe take a little bit of a load off. Well, that's why our Friday podcast is always brought to you by Little Brown Jug. Let's raise a glass to the weekend. And a generic lager will be my choice at about 3:30 after we're finished today. It's your basic lager, just better. Little Brown Jug made the taste you crave with the name that says it all with this impressively standard lager Whether you're at a Jets game or watching from home, grab a cold one and cheers. Available at Little Brown Jug in the Exchange District at 336 William Avenue. Your local LC or vendor. Now available at all your local sporting events. I know it's on tap at the Osborne Tap House. And, well, certainly you can grab a Little Brown Jug down at the beer can this weekend as well. All right. AS Downs is back. Horse racing is back. We've got a little ways to wait before opening day, but the season really gets underway this weekend. It is the Kentucky Derby. And for those of us that like to sprinkle, the man that brought us the winner last year, I believe 2 of the last 3 years he's nailed the winner, our local track announcer, Kirt Contois, handicapper to the stars, joins us on Assiniboia Down. Kirt, what's up? How was your winter? What's up, buddy? Great to have you back on the show.
Winter was absolutely excellent. I was able to get away, which is always nice. Even though we had such a nice winter, got to see racing in Barbados and Texas and Phoenix and even Nebraska sprinkled in there. So winter was absolutely awesome for me, but it's back to work time and Kentucky Derby tomorrow.
Well, hey, listen, just before we quickly get to the Derby, fill us in on what's happened around the track, how things are progressing as we get closer to open up the season.
Well, we got about 350 horses on the grounds right now, so it's action-packed every morning. We have lots of new horses, as every year we do, and we got some new jockeys, few new trainers that are joining us. And just to touch on last year's leading trainer, Jerry Gorno, he's won it the last 4 years. He's going for 5 in a row. He's coming in loaded for bear with 48 horses to start the meet. So we're all getting really excited as opening day is May the 20th for us.
Yeah, May the 20th. And just so people know, and we'll be doing our picks again. Remis and I going head to head throughout every live racing day, one of our favorite parts of the show. Monday and Tuesday will run in the 2 May weekends. So the 20th, correct, the 21st, the 27th, and the 28th. And then once we get to June, right through the first week of September, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night, live racing on at Assiniboia Downs. You can start planning for, the buffet and the prime rib and all that great stuff by making it a reservation over at AS Downs. And then the final 2 weeks of the season, we get back to Tuesdays with the 9th, 10th, 16th, and 17th of September. But Kirk, if we can't wait the 2.5 weeks to get out for opening day on the 20th, we've got the Derby right now. This is the biggest one every year, and it's sort of, it's the Triple Crown, but in a way, the big one starts it all off. Within that racing community, what's the buzz about this Derby, and how fired up is everyone to officially get back at the track?
Oh, it always is the kickoff of our race meet. So everybody is ready to go, and everybody has their picks. Already, we've had quite a few little, not scuffles, but heated exchanges between people on who is better than the other. But that's all laid on the line tomorrow in race 12. And no matter how much you complain up until that race, once the race runs, then we're going to find out who is the best horse in there, or who at least wins the race and essentially wins the argument.
Now, Kirk, I don't have HPI bet up right now. And again, with horse racing, things will change a little bit. Our friends at Coolbet, like most books already, I mean, they've been looking at the Derby for a while. I'm seeing Fierceness as a slight favorite, just south of 3-1. Sierra Leone at 3-1, and then a pretty big gap. The next horse, Forever Young, 9-1. Catching Freedom at 10-1. Just a touch, 11-1. And then another bit of a gap. You've got 18 on Honor Marie, 20 on Dornoch, Stronghold and Just Steel at 22, and Resilience at 25-1. So those are the races. There, Remis has HPI bet up right now. And again, beautiful. You want to bet with us throughout the year on Assiniboia Downs. If you can't make it out, get an account there. It's a really fun way to wager. And of course, you can watch Kirk and the guys do their thing on the YouTube channel, which many of our regular listeners also jump on over in and have fun in the chat. But fill us in. I mean, let's start at the top. Fierceness and Sierra Leone, two basically almost co-favorites, very tight. Who are these horses, and is that where most of the money you think will be going this weekend?
Oh, definitely that's where the money's going to go. But the biggest thing is they have the exact opposite running styles. Fierceness, for example, won its last race going wire to wire and did it in the Florida Derby and just destroyed the field in there. Ended up winning by 13 lengths in the end. But Sierra Leone was sitting dead last in the field in its last start and mowed them all down in the Bluegrass in Keeneland. And both of them are coming off such impressive races that's why everybody is all over them. But as we know in the Derby, and I say year after year, you could be the best horse, but you got to weave your way through all the other horses to get there, which is what Sierra Leone will have to do in the end. But Fierceness is going to try and go to the front. If Fierceness happens to get away with the lead and able to control it, I think it could be a force in here. But there's just way too much speed, I think, on the inside that's going to make it tough for Fierceness to go all the way. So I'm looking for something to close.
Thoughts on, like, would Sierra Leone be that closer, or are you kind of getting frisky and looking a little further down the board?
I'm looking a little further down the board, but what really, I think Sierra Leone will run in the top three. It will come with a big rush on the outside in the end, but I think might come up just a little bit short just because it has to weave through traffic. So I'm looking for a horse that's sitting in about fifth or sixth that can get that lead at the head of the lane for Sierra Leone to come play catch up in the end and try and hang on.
Well, I listen, I've been looking at these odds and seeing the way things have been shaping out and knowing you were coming on the program, and I was hoping you were going to have a pick outside of the top two because it's way more fun and certainly more lucrative to hit a winner if you're not looking at the favorites. So you like Sierra Leone top three. You think Fierceness is going to have a tough time winning because of the running styles. Who is your pick? And who's in the mix right now if you look at other possibilities further down the board to potentially win and be in that circle at the end of the race?
Okay, another one with the off-the-pace running style. That's the 4 Catching Freedom. This is a horse that did get beat by Sierra Leone. And just in the races that it has run against Sierra Leone, I just don't think it's the caliber of Sierra Leone. So even with the good trip, I don't think it can beat the two. A lot of people are looking at this horse saying it's going to improve a little bit and maybe go by. But just in my eyes and from what I have seen, it's not one of those, but definitely it will be one of the big contenders. Forever Young, a Japanese horse, one of 2 undefeated Japanese horses in here. Well, everybody's going after these ones because in the Breeders' Cup and in the Derby last year, Dermo Sotogake took all kinds of money, didn't run well. But these Japanese horses, their breeding program has gotten so good. Forever Young, 5 for 5. Everybody's going after this horses. Well, I did a little bit of homework and looked at the horses it ran against. And in that last race, for example, the horse that ran second had run second in his 2 previous starts to that and never fought to the wire. So kind of gives up when a horse gets close. So I don't like horses that beat those kind of horses only by a little bit. I think they should beat them by 8 or 9 lengths going away. So I'm not even going after that one, but I do like a horse that runs the same style that kind of Mage did, lightly raced as a 3-year-old, didn't run as a 2-year-old, and that's number 8, Just a Touch. We're getting great odds, and Just a Touch lost to Sierra Leone last time out. It was only the 3rd lifetime start, had a little bit of trouble. There is speed, like I said. I think it sits behind the speed. It overtook the lead at the head of the lane. Then Sierra Leone came, but they had to use the horse early to get that position. I don't think they'll have to do that to tomorrow. So I just think the horse is going to get a great trip. And Mage paid $32. I think this one will be around the $32 range also. So Just a Touch, that's the horse that I'm backing, with Sierra Leone for second.
And I am putting Just a Touch on Just a Touch now that you have given your official Derby pick, which officially begins racing season on Assiniboia Downs. So Just a Touch, what did you say? It was number 6?
Nope, that's number 8.
Oh, number 8. All right. So number 8, Just a Touch, Kirk's pick for the Derby. We like Sierra Leone, top 3.
Definitely.
You should be able to get that even money for sure. Kirk, listen, this is great. I cannot wait to see you guys out on the 20th for opening day. And just quickly on your way out, fill people in. There's lots of new people that have joined our sort of community that are watching on YouTube regularly. Let people know about what you and I assume Stretch and the gang have coming up every day for live racing at the Assiniboia Downs YouTube channel.
Well, every day, myself and Stretch, we go over the race card, 6:45 Central, to give you an idea of what we do like, so you don't have to wait till the last minute. And the great thing with it on YouTube, you can just go on to whatever race you are going to join us. And as the races go, though, don't just sit with those early picks, because we see things on the racetrack and we sometimes adjust as we go. And those adjustments are the difference between winning and losing. As you do know, you could start with one horse, end up with another, and then end up making money in the end. But me and Stretch, I think we're quite knowledgeable. If you don't follow horse racing, we put it in layman's terms for you, so it's not hard to follow us. And in the end, you try and pick a winner, and hopefully you do. And great thing to do on Monday and Tuesday for the first 2 weeks in May. And then after that, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday evening, great place to join us.
Well, we're looking forward to doing another couple of WST nights out to the track as well. So we will see you very soon. But in the meantime, thank you for your insight. Let's get it. Just the touch.
All right.
Just a touch, I should say. And we'll look forward to having you back for the Belmont and the Preakness, Kirk, as well, to set those up on Fridays.
Excellent, Hustler. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. There is Kirk Contois. Now, we'll get to the Coolbet lines in a minute. But tonight we've got 2 games. Great night to maybe saddle up at your local Boston Pizza. It's sad we don't have any more whiteout parties and Jet games. But, man, we got a couple great games tonight to post up for. 6 o'clock, Vancouver and Nashville. 9 o'clock, Dallas and Vegas. And, of course, BP right now with their pro. They're trying to get everybody behind the Canadian teams. I'm not sure whether there'll be more people going for Boston or Toronto tomorrow night. It'll be another great night to be at BP. But it's the place to team up the Cup for the playoffs. Check out the new playoff menu featuring wing flights, the Sicilian square footer pizza, and jalapeno popper dip, my personal favorite. They got some other great contests, including a grand prize trip for 2 to the Stanley Cup Finals. So while you might not be dressing up in white like you had earlier in the playoffs, it still continues to roll at BP. Get your crew down this weekend for some great end of the first round action at your local Boston Pizza. All right, marble registration is open. We will get to that in about 10 minutes. But before we do that, the Goldeyes are back, and we've been mentioning all week long. Cannot wait for the season. We've got the new scoreboard, the new patio decks, which we're going to be having an event at. And there's more than just new features at the ballpark. A brand new team that's coming together very nicely, and a brand new manager. Let's welcome in Fish skipper Logan Watkins to Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Logan, what's going on? It's great. Logan, what's up? It's great to have you back on the program.
Yeah, happy to be back. It's good to finally get to Winnipeg. Good to kind of get to meet the guys that I've been talking to through text and phone calls the whole off season. Kind of meet them face to face now, and I've been here obviously as an opposing player and opposing manager, but it's nice kind of moving into that home clubhouse.
No doubt about it. I have to ask you. I mean, it was a couple of months ago where you joined us, and we got to meet you for the first time, and you kind of detailed how much work was going into putting this team together. Before you kind of get the guys on the field and get going, how are you feeling about the roster that's been put together for the Goldeyes this season?
I feel good about it. It's pretty. I think it's going to be a pretty balanced team. Got a pretty good mix of experience, and then the young guys we do have are well proven. As like Dason Cruz last year was Rookie of the Year. I mean, we've got a ton of young talent. Ryan Holgate's former second rounder, one of our younger guys. So plenty of ability. You feel good about it, but again, it's only been put together and viewed on paper. Once we get on the field, we'll kind of have a better idea of what we're working with.
Yeah, well, obviously we'll look forward to seeing all the new players that'll be coming to town. We've got some great news in the last week or so. Max Murphy's back. We thought that he was going to play in Mexico. How did that come about, and how big is that for the organization and for you in your first year to have a veteran that can mash like Max coming back to the Fish?
Down to Mexico and started the season down there, and being an import guy on a Mexican roster, they kind of move through those roster spots pretty quick if you don't get off to the hottest of starts. And Max didn't get off to the best start. They made a move, and he contacted me, asked if he could come back to Winnipeg, and it was a very very unexpected but welcome surprise. I felt pretty good about the team, without him on it, and now putting him on it, you really can start to get excited because at least his track record has shown what he's going to give you this year. So some of the other guys we have maybe have a shorter track record, and you're kind of projecting what they're going to do, but Max Murphy's proven time and time again what he's going to bring to the table every single season.
What did from the visitors clubhouse and working in the league, but not with the Goldeyes? What's the reputation of a guy like Max Murphy throughout the league, and what did you see him from the other side of the pitch?
Just dangerous. If you don't have to give him something to hit, don't do it. Felt like every time we've played him, he just doesn't miss many barrels. A lot of even his outs seem to be pretty good contact, line drive outs or whatever. But his reputation, not only in Winnipeg but across the American Association, is just he's going to probably go down as one of the all-time best players to ever play in this league. So, and you feel good about he's on the older side now, but you still feel good about what he did last year and that he's still got a lot of really good baseball ahead of him.
Logan Watkins is the new manager of the Winnipeg Goldeyes, joining us on Winnipeg Sports Talk. So you got the fellas here together, many in Winnipeg for the first time. How did the first day of camp go yesterday?
It was really good. I know a lot of these guys were just excited to step in and face a live. We did live ABs yesterday after practice, and I think almost every one of our pitchers threw. Everyone was excited to get on the mound and face live hitters, and then vice versa. The hitters were really wanting to get in there and get some at bats, which our spring training being so short, those live at bats and stuff are kind of hard to come by. We're only going to get about 5 exhibition games, so good to see just the excitement and the eagerness from these guys. I know that the biggest thing with independent ball is baseball season feels like it started a while ago. MLB and everybody's been playing on TV forever, and we have to wait like almost that extra month that always seems to kind of drag by. So these guys are kind of chomping at the bit to get on the field and play baseball.
Well, and then part of it is you don't have a ton of time to get ready before it counts, as we mentioned. I mean, a lot of travel, some exhibition games, and the regular season getting going next week in Cleburne. Well, what do? How do you prioritize everything? Because I'm sure there's not enough hours in the day to do everything that you want to get a team ready for opening day.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult. It's players know the situation, so they're well aware that they need to show up to spring training pretty much ready to go. So there's not like an affiliated spring training where you get a month to kind of get yourself built up if you're a pitcher, and that should already have been done before we got here. So those guys know that. It looks like everyone showed up in shape. Are going to have a few guys missing due to injury, and we've kind of we're going to replace them to an extent. I think we were going to carry 24 guys to start the year. Looks like we're probably going to carry 22, 23-ish maybe, just to fill their shoes until they get healthy. But I mean, that's just part of the game. You deal with injuries and you deal with things like that all the time. But right now, we're want to get these exhibition games started. We're going to Sioux Falls, then Lincoln, then Kansas City. So kind of making our way down to Cleburne, a couple stops at a time.
And what a way to start the season. I'm not sure whether the schedule maker did this on purpose or whether it was just chance, but you get a chance to maybe stick it to your own club right out of the gate on opening night and for a 6-game series to begin the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've actually signed a really good team this offseason. So I'm expecting it to be a pretty good matchup right away. The hard part is seeing some of my guns used against me. A lot of those guys that I found and signed, they returned, several of them who are all really good players. So I'm expecting their roster to be pretty strong and pretty difficult test for us right off the bat. And then right after that, we go right back to the defending champs, Kansas City Monarchs. So this opening road trip is going to be a bit of a gauntlet of games to get through. But that's why we work so hard this offseason, build the roster we're confident in. So we might be going up against some tough teams that we feel pretty good, and we feel like we match up well with them.
Logan, I mean, overall, how would you describe the conversations you had with players, talent, and the players that ended up coming here to Winnipeg about the opportunity to play in Winnipeg and with the Goldeyes? And they seem to have been well run for a long time, a great reputation in the league. How helpful was that in getting some guys north of the border for the season?
Yeah, there's some challenges that come with it, and then there's some extreme advantages. Obviously, Winnipeg's a sports town. It's a great place if you're going to be on a professional sports team. Winnipeg's a great city to be in because they love the Jets, they love the Goldeyes, and you get great turnouts, great attendance at the games. Atmosphere is always great. The structure of the organization's great, from Andrew, all the way up to ownership. Just everybody involved has been doing this, seems like, for forever, and they know what they're doing. And then some of the drawback is, you try to contact or whatever some American guys, Latin guys, and maybe they initially hear Canada, and that initially isn't like the most attractive place for them to go. Maybe they think it's more of a Canadian league, which if you don't know anything about independent baseball, you don't realize that the entire league besides Canada is in the States. So some of it's kind of educating guys on the finer details of playing in the American Association in Winnipeg. But I think just the past history of success and the players that came before here that always speak highly of this place, the reputation of the Winnipeg Goldeyes is well known. So that's definitely a help.
Logan, it was an ugly season last year, and I think that's part of the reason why there's so many new faces and changes to it. How optimistic are you about the club that's been put together, and what are the goals for you in your first year managing here in the Peg?
Yeah, so I only saw Winnipeg last year for 6 games, and yeah, they definitely probably didn't have the season they were hoping for last year. But I think when you take over a team like this, you first of all you look at what went right last year, and of course, getting Max Murphy back, Dason Cruz, Joey Matulovic, Landon Barasa, Travis Seabrook, probably missing a couple, Miles Symington. I think getting kind of that core back from the team that had good seasons was very important to do right away, and I feel like we did that. I mean, Max Murphy is obviously kind of an unexpected addition here late, but we feel like we got pretty much the core of the team from last year back, and then we just really left no stone unturned trying to build around it, and it was a lot of hard work. Never took a day off from it. Always talking to agents, players, former coaches, whoever it was. When we identified a player that we wanted to get, we went hard for him. And of course, you're going to swing and miss a lot of times, but I feel like the ones we did swing and connect on are going to pay off. We got a younger guy named Adam Hall, who's a Canadian, former second rounder with Baltimore. This will be his first year in independent ball. He missed most of last year due to injury, so but I mean, just being a second rounder tells you he's extremely talented, but very hungry to play again because it feels like for him it's been a while, and he's obviously a Canadian kid, and so he's proud to be here. Going to have quite a few exciting new probably faces and names that fans are hopefully going to enjoy watching play baseball.
Well, there's a lot of exciting new stuff at the ballpark, the brand new scoreboard, which I think is going to completely change the game day experience for the fans, the new patio decks over by Craft Beer Corner, and a new skipper and a new team. Gang, May 21st, the Fish will be back in the Peg to open up their home schedule with the home opener. That's a Tuesday night, 6-game homestand beginning on the 21st. And a great season coming up. Logan Watkins with us. Logan, congratulations again on the gig. Good luck with spring training. All the best on the road. And we'll look forward to seeing you and the Goldeyes down at the ballpark, hopefully for another fantastic season of Goldeyes baseball.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on, and hopefully we talk soon.
All right, great stuff with Logan. Shout out to the fellas. We actually caught up earlier yesterday, so the Goldeyes finishing up and now heading on the road. And what's crazy, and I think if you missed our interview beforehand, he, young player, was with the Cubs organization, made it to the majors, was injured in the World Series year, moved on to coaching and was the coach at Cleburne. Well, they got sold, and the owners wanted to have a different guy. He'd done a great job in Cleburne. So he gets a pink slip after making the playoffs and having a really strong team. He signs on with the Goldeyes, and guess where the Goldeyes play their first 6 games of the season? In Cleburne. Schedule maker knew something of what he was doing. A couple more guys coming in after that series as well for the Goldeyes as they finish up their time down in Mexico. But, man, getting Max Murphy back, amazing. But go to goldeyes.com, 982 base. Get your tickets for the upcoming season, mini packs and more. And listen, we're going to be doing a patio party, but if you want to do a big event that can do up to 90 or 110 people, that's the capacity on those patios. All the information is there. Be a great, great outdoor summer event. Great to have the Goldeyes back on board, and cannot wait for the 21st and opening day. Man, that's going to be a great weekend. Monday, opening day of the track. Tuesday, opening day of the ballpark. Let's go. And speaking of things that are happening now that we move on from hockey season, and I've known this for a bit. My friends at Princess Auto had been telling me that they were working on this in a big, big way. And they have a massive Canada Day celebration planned for Princess Auto Stadium. And Winnipeggers, you're going to love this. It is completely free. A free Canada Day concert and festival with activities kicking off at noon, following with main stage performances at 3 p.m., headlined by Sam Roberts and the Sam Roberts Band, Doc Walker playing as well, Indian City, Brandy Vezina, Katie St. Germain, and neighbor Andy. But man, a free concert with Sam Roberts Band and Doc Walker. It's going to be amazing. It's going to have a local market, food trucks, face painting for kids, storytelling, inflatables, and more. And it is completely free. Fireworks are going to light up the city skyline at dusk. So it'll be great to get a great, legit, awesome Canada Day celebration going again in Winnipeg. And Princess Auto and the Bombers putting that on at Princess Auto Stadium Monday, July 1st, 2024. Cannot wait for that. All right. Well, last call for marbles. Remis, you want to wrap that up? And I will move over to the Coolbet lines tonight. Oh, these are going to be some good games. The fans will be stressed on both sides. We don't have that stress as much anymore now that the Jets are out, but be able to feel it. Nashville's going to be banging tonight. Crazy weekend down there. Lots going on, but the main event is Canucks and Predators. That's starting at just after 6 o'clock our time. Canucks plus 112 on the money line. Predators minus 131. And then later on tonight, the Dallas Stars minus 112 and the Vegas Golden Knights minus 105. And then tomorrow, Game 7 between the Bruins and Leafs. Bruins are at home. They are a minus 133 favorite. And the Toronto Maple Leafs are plus 1 33. We didn't do a partner parlay today, but Jake's done up some great exclusives over in the Coolbet exclusives. And I will tell you this, if you like the Dallas Stars to win tonight, I would suggest you hit that first daily exclusive. Dallas Stars to win right now is -112. The Dallas Mavericks are playing the Clippers tonight, and they're a massive favorite, -333. So if you were going to parlay those yourself, -333 with -112, you'd get it to +146. It is in the Coolbet exclusives at +165. They have a couple cross-sport ones as well. Canucks to win, and Jamal Murray in game 1 on the weekend to get 24 or more points. That's an interesting one. And if you like the home teams tonight, if you like the teams to punch their tickets, Vancouver and Dallas tonight, that's boosted to +335. And if you like the two teams to force a 7th game, that is up at +270. So check those Coolbet exclusives. All the rest of the odds are on the board. If you haven't played a Coolbet before, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. All right, Remo, it's marbles time. 3:09. We should get to this. It's taken us a little long, but it was a packed show today. Lots to get to. Good Jets talk with Brandon and Ken. And then, of course, Kirt and Logan Watkins before we do our final act of business, the WST marble race. And I guess we can't do that without firing up a little Tristan Rivers music right now on WST.
Another week of work's gone by. You deserve to treat yourself, maybe an ice cream cake or a bottle of rye. Phone the whole day in, so lax you can't deny. Why use effort even for pleasure? Give life luck a try. It's time to do a marble race. No skill separated, best to worst. Marble race. Just like marbles with the punctuation first. Marble race. Don't spare or you will suffer. I'll explain. Marble race. Into your mark before it's too late. Set go.
All right, marbles time on WST. Great to see everyone sticking around. And again, thanks to everyone who's been in the marble race all year long during Jet season. Just so you know, for any people that have popped by more recently and discovered the channel, no days off. Well, Saturday and Sunday, days off for us. But we're here throughout May, throughout June, July, August, September. If it's a weekday, 1 p.m., we're live on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, and join us. Marble races continue throughout the summer. And I know we said we were going to do this. Like, if you recall, a year ago, in December, we teamed up with Consolidated Supply for the Marbles Tournament of Champions. With December being so busy with what was happening with the Jets, we put it off. We figured, let's find a time in the year to, when we've got a little bit more time to have some more fun with it. So keep tuning in to WST. Because coming up this summer, we will fire it up again, the Marbles Tournament of Champions, where we'll have a couple weeks of marble races every show with a big final race, and we're working on a really cool grand prize for that as well. All right, Remo, we're going to take it back, old school today, one of the original tracks.
Yeah, one of the original tracks. So I got it all loaded up here. Before we get to that, we just quickly announced Canada's team for the World. No Crosby.
Oh, I was so hoping Crosby and Bedard would be playing together.
Yeah, we got Bedard, Bunting, Celebrini, Cousins, Fantilli, Grieg, Gunther, Mangiapane, McBain, McCann, Mercer, and Brandon Tanev. Byram.
And Tanev getting a chance to play for Canada. Awesome.
Pretty awesome. And then on defense, Byram, Gooley, Oleksiak, Parayko, Powers, Severson, Zellweger, goalie, Binnington, Dawes, Hofer. So no Winnipeg Jets, no Brossois or Morrissey, Lowry, nothing from them. Not really surprised because, they just finished. Take a little time off here. But hey, I thought USA's team they announced before was kind of stacked. And I think this Canada team's pretty good. And we talk a lot about goaltending for Canada's team at the Olympics or Four Nations Cup. I think Binnington is certainly making a case, and he's taking the reins here at the World. So something to watch here as the month goes on.
No doubt about it. My dream scenario was Crosby on the team, Bedard on the team, and then the Jets making Nate McKinnon available and McKinnon on the team. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But it'll be cool to see Connor Bedard play at the event for sure. And I think this is big for Binnington to sort of stake his claim to potentially a goaltending spot for Canada, if not the starting job after the season he had for next year in the Four Nations event before the big Olympic tournament the following year. All right, Remo, let's get this going. Here we are. And by the way, if you just popped in a little late for the marble race, a little special bonus for you folks. So pumped to have the beer can on board. It opened quietly a couple days ago. This is opening weekend at the beer can, connected to the Granite downtown. If you go there, go to the bartender, say Hustler sent me from Winnipeg Sports Talk, a free beer for the first 20 people that do that. So, we'll see how tonight isn't really that nice, but tomorrow and Sunday are going to be great. Pop by there. Right beside the Granite, beautiful outdoor beer garden area. If you haven't seen it before, it is the place to be in the summer. But yes, say Huss sent me, and I would love my free beer. Thank you very much. Let's have a great season. All right, let's do this, folks. How many marbles, Reem?
238.
All right, 238 in the corner, and this is what the Rusty Remnant. I don't remember this one, actually, but we've got the big extended Plinko style start. So we'll wish you all luck. WST hoodie, courtesy of our friends at Shipham and Associates for the winner. Let's drop the marbles and get it going on WST on a Friday. All right, nice start here. Cowboy, Turd Ferguson and Jay Miller with nice starts. I see James Barnaby in there as well. Kelly Menard. Turd Ferguson in the mix. Laura Wong. Krugs. This is always a neat one because they go on one of two tracks and then end up meeting, and everyone gets in here in the middle before they go up. Jay Miller with a slight lead right now over Turd Ferguson, Laura Wang. All caps Kyle's in the mix as well. I see MC Stormy into the top 10. Rob Mahoney. What's up, Rob? Corey O. Here's Turd Ferguson doing the old corkscrew. All caps Kyle and Ken 007. Turd Ferguson as well. Everyone's going to be meeting who can get into the spinning globe first. More importantly, who can get out of it first. All caps Kyle.
Whoa, that's quick.
All caps Kyle with really managed that one very well. He's in the lead now. We've got another obstacle coming up here. Corey O and Dallas Pauls. What's up, Dallas? Dallas chasing. How is Kyle going to do? Oh, listen, Kyle has absolutely nailed this. Managed the last two obstacles perfectly, but slowing down right now. Slowing down. This is not when you want to slow down, all caps Kyle. Managed to work it a little bit more, but there is some serious momentum behind him right now. This is going to be a wild finish, I think. All caps Kyle, Paul Carr, Dan S. Oh, Dallas Pauls has now taken the lead. I don't know if Dallas has ever won before. This would be a big moment for Dallas, and now he gets stopped. All caps Kyle is back. Mike Lederney out of nowhere in the mix. Here we go. Down the far stretch. Is this the bin at the end?
No, they still got a bit of time.
No. We've still got a little bit more to. Oh, the Rusty Remnant is a good track. I don't remember this one at all. Who do we got here? Hockey Lover out of the blue coming on the other side now in first. Carson, I should say. Carson in the mix. T-Will is in. Listen, this is a wild race right now. All right, James, Carson, Hockey Lover, Kyle, everyone in the mix right now. We're coming down to the end. It's a 2-horse race. Hockey Lover, Carson. It's Hockey Lover. First ever victory, I'm almost positive, for Hockey Lover. Hell of a race, though. The Rusty Remnant. Everyone was in the mix. I see B. Henderson just got thrown over the top rope. MCV Dub also out. But wow, Hockey Lover with a huge final sort of 10% of that race to make it happen. Carson Kortvrent. What's up, Carson? It's a new name in here. Great to see you here. Be a regular. We do it every Friday around this time. Carson in second. Rob Mahoney, longtime WST regular, third. Corey Owen, fourth. James Barnaby, fifth. T-Will, sixth place. Very nice performance by T-Will. Robert Swanson. Dan, Jets fan. Great to see a nice top 10 performance there, Dan. Paul Carr in ninth. And Rob Somerville in the top 10. All right, let's see what we've got here. Oh, geez, Bozeman in 11th.
Ross got thrown over, Huss.
Ross got thrown over. All right, well, we'll see where I ended up. But Bozeman with a strong 11th place performance. Actually ended up beating the likes of all caps Kyle. Kyle, a little tough at the end. Oh, there's Wayne Bretsky. Scott Westman, what's up? Hey, Yin Vivian, nice race today. Duck Dad, there's a lock shopper coming in. Shout out to all the ESTers and lock shoppers hanging out with us after the boys finish things up. Michael Lay, accountant to the stars, right there. Here you go, some good karma for Mike. Wicked John, Dan Milburn. There was Cowboy. Cowboy had a moment in today's race. Dunk Dynasty. There's Artis. Greg M. Phyllis got in today. Sam Crow. What's up, Sam Crow? Cruiser, Billy Blast, Frosty Winnipeg, Hustler, 111. Nah, not too bad. I lost to Shorn, beat Ross today, so we'll take the push, I guess. Northside Sandwich. There's another ESTer coming in. Always great to have our friends from the Lock Shop join us on WST. Velveeta, Jano, Chris Fadun. Chris, by the way, I just emailed you about your hoodie from last week. And Hockey Lover, who just won, what you're going to need to do, send us an email, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com. Let us know your size, and you can pop by and pick it up sometime, maybe next week if that works. And the same with you for you, Chris. Just let me know that size. Send an email back, and I'll get in touch, and we can set it up. Yeah, not too many getting bounced. Oh, Jen Cooley. There's another lock shopper. What's up, Jen? Sorry you got thrown over the top rope. Not very hospitable of us. Was it at all? Well, Reem, at the start of the week, we thought maybe, just maybe, we'd have a chance of having a big preview of a Game 7. That did not take place. Certainly had a lot of content for us. And, just talking with Ken today, I'll be honest, there are so many topics around the Winnipeg Jets going into the next few weeks pre-draft that I think are going to be a lot of fun to talk about, and certainly should maintain people's interest while we pay attention to who's left in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, I can only hope that, as the teams get eliminated, some of the insiders come with some juicy reports that we can put as clickbaity titles and get people to join and lead some discussions. Because we've had, I don't know, man, like the last couple of years, it's just been fireworks at the end of the season. We had Pierre-Luc Dubois and Pushback last year. A lot of questions about that. Last year we had, the Blake Wheeler buyout as well. I'm trying to think what it was 2 years ago. Probably more. Dubois. I mean, Dubois gave us goals for 2 years. Like, this is going to be our first off season without him. And, like, I don't know if we're going to be able to get as many views. LA, they're getting a lot of views. Actually, I don't know if you saw Dennis I know we gotta go. Dennis Bernstein said, lots of hard questions for PL Dubois. How does he fix what went so wrong? PL said, have a good summer, work hard in the gym, skate, a lot of things you can do. I'm committed to having a better season. I'll do anything to be better. No concern over trade buyout speculation. So I guess we're still kind of on that train as well. But for the Jets, RFAs, Perfetti, certainly at the top of that list, UFAs. So there are some Jets questions, and maybe we'll have some juicy tidbits to talk about. Someone throw us some nuggets here. We need something to talk about until for a month.
No,
here.
listen, I got lots. But here's just a wild story about the potential of a Dubois buyout. Because I had mentioned that it's unique that because of the age of Pierre-Luc Dubois, they might be able to buy him out as a younger player, which is 1/3 as opposed to 2/3. Now, this is crazy. He turns 26 on June 24th. The buyout is only 1/3 of the contract if the player is under 26 at the time of the buyout. Buyouts will start the later of either June 15th or 48 hours after the Cup final. So by reading this, if the Cup is awarded June 23rd, they cannot buy him out until after he turns 26, meaning it's twice as costly in real cash. If the Cup is awarded before June 22nd, they could potentially buy him out before he turns 26, making it a 1/3 buyout. That's going to be a very interesting story to follow. And listen, they'll have a ton of cap space. They'll be paying $1 million, $2 million a year for a long time, even on a 1/3 buyout. I can't see the 2/3 buyout happening. But keep your eye on the schedule of the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm not sure if anyone will be paying attention to that more other than the teams in it than Rob Blake running the Los Angeles Kings.
Yeah, if it will even be Rob Blake, I'm sure there's nothing to indicate otherwise, except for, I don't know, he's the one who made all those trades, and you have to wonder if he is going to be on the hot seat. So, yeah, teams eliminated. We can look ahead to the offseason. We're doing that here for the Jets. I'm sure we'll continue touching on the end of season comments as we go. So, it was a fun regular season. Playoffs, we had a big boost here. I did those videos with Connor to recap the games. I got like 5,000 views on them. So thanks to everyone who tuned in, who liked. We had a number of Colorado fans in here, which was kind of cool because I felt like we didn't have Vegas fans. And the year before, or in the playoffs, we had Edmonton and Montreal fans, and they were really annoying. But I thought the Colorado fans were pretty cool. Maybe because they just dominated the Jets, and we just talked about how great Colorado was for most of the series, and wasn't really like that in other series. So we'll move on. We'll have lots to talk about. And the Bombers rookie camp has started next week. Sea Bears this month. Goldeyes underway. So we'll have plenty of topics, and we'll keep an eye on the Stanley Cup playoffs, and we'll be watching out for, Paul Maurice hoisting the cup, or former Jet Jacob Trouba handing it to former Jet Blake Wheeler, former Jet Jack Roslovic. I mean, how crazy would that be?
Well, we'll have lots of time to discuss that. Let's get through the first round first. Tonight, Game 6, Nashville, Vancouver, Dallas, Vancouver. Tomorrow, Game 7, Boston, Toronto. And hopefully we get at least one Game 7 for Sunday. And we'll break it all down on Monday, as well as more Jets off season and a look ahead to everything else coming up in Winnipeg sports and around the world of sports. Huge thanks to all the sponsors that make this show happen each and every day. Logan Watkins, Kirt Contois, Brandon Rewucki, Ken Wiebe. Speaking of Connor, we're going to get him back on the program on Monday, hopefully, and talk a little round 2, and once we're out of round 1. In the meantime, though, have a great weekend. Enjoy it. Should be nice on Saturday and Sunday. And enjoy the pucks as well. We'll see you Monday, 1 p.m. right here, live on YouTube on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Have a good one, everyone.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.